Good morning, good morning, good morning. As I would normally say, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. We are conscious that people are watching from all over. So, greetings to you wherever on the face of this planet you are. Welcome to another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Today is Wednesday, the 31st, I think it is, yes, the 31st of May. 2023, the last day in the month. Tomorrow is the first day of June. For those, all those who are traditionalists, June is the month of brides. So I suspect we're gonna have lots of invitations for weddings and all of that. So welcome one and all, welcome. Let's give praise and thanks to the Almighty for allowing us to see another day. We continue to say it's a privilege to be able to be here on Wednesdays, not only because we can bring you the good news, but because the good Lord has spared our lives to be here. And, praise be to the Almighty for allowing us to be here. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. And let me start out by thanking you all for your attendance in class last week. We broke all our records last week in terms of live audience, and between the show last week and now, we have had thousands and thousands of viewers on YouTube. So yes, you are here to listen, and I suspect you're in class because the lessons that are being taught are beneficial. So you're here to make sure that you get the credible news. While you're here, we too are aware that they are making every effort, lots of interferences. Even right now, my colleague, even though he's in the studio, he has a lot of static in his line. I'm hoping that it clears up before he comes into the broadcast properly. So yes, they are doing that. They don't want the truth to be told, but we will do everything in our power to make sure that the truth is told. We are going to be here every Wednesday, God's willing, circumstances allowing, to be here to give you the information. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And by now, I don't have to tell you, share the word, share the live. Let people know that we are here once a more so that we can perhaps even equal or break last week's record. So keep sharing, tell people that we're here. Some people are challenged, and that is not meant as a criticism. Some people are challenged when it comes to technology, and many times they don't know how to get on to the program. So you have to share it to them. But I'm telling you, the easy way to get the program, because we broadcast on YouTube and on Facebook, live on YouTube and Facebook. All you have to do, go now to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. You hit the notification button, and every time the program goes live, you will get a notification of that. Also, if you subscribe to the channel on Facebook, same thing will happen. You will get notification when the channel goes live. So you don't have to depend on someone to send you the link. So do that. Subscribe to this channel. The channel is growing, and once it grows, more people are going to be informed of what is going on. Right now, I see when I logged on this morning, once the program was scheduled, people from all over, Scotland, London, Barbados, all over the US, Missouri, California, all over in Canada, and all over people are here watching. So let's continue we will continue to share the news. You continue to inform or to share with your friends and your colleagues. I see Leon, welcome. Leon, OT as human like me. So welcome one and all. As I said, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. I want to start off by wishing all Guyanese a belated independence anniversary. Last Friday, Guyana celebrated 57 years as an independent country. And many questions are asked, 57 years down the road, how far have we progressed? What have we learned? And some people are going to be, perhaps justifiably so, very critical to say that we have not made the progress that we should have in 57 years. Well, let's wait and see. Some of the patient ones will say, let's wait and see where things will go. Well, things don't look good. Things don't look good. A lot of nonsense going on in the place, or as one of my older inspector will say, nonsenseness. A lot of nonsenseness going on. So, yes, congratulations to Guyanese on observing the 57th independence anniversary. We have lots to tell you this morning, lots and lots of things to tell you. So make sure that you have your snack nearby. One man shared with say your popcorn and cokes. Well, I don't know if you'll get popcorn and cokes. Maybe you are more health conscious, so you're gonna get some steamed fried fish. Stand by in case you feel peckish, because we have a lot to tell you this morning. In the notification for the program, I told you that we're going to continue to examine this disastrous Mahdia fire, which took the lives of 20 persons. And we said that we're going to also examine the quote-unquote escape of from the Missouri prison. We're not going to disappoint you. We're going to examine those things, and we have some other stuff to tell you about. So make sure you sit comfortable and you are there. In a short while, I will do the roll call. And the roll call, oh geez, the schoolyard full up this morning. The schoolyard was filled this morning. I saw Anne came in and she said that she taking the front row seat. I don't think so, you know, my dear. The number that you came in, you just saw in the middle or perhaps towards the end. The people were there very early. Let me tell you, I don't want to disappoint you, but let me tell you what happened this morning. This morning when the program was my boy regained his #1 position. My boy regained his #1 position. Vibert was here this morning at 6:53. 6:53. He regained his position this morning. Then we had John at 6:55. We had who else? Sydney came in at 6:55 as well. And Wayne, even though he did not state it, I know Wayne is from the UK. He came in at 7:03. Then we have my squad mate, 94:30. Carlton came in at 8:78. Floyd came in here at 7:09. Patricia followed him. Well, Floyd, you must keep reminding me, right? Floyd reminded me that the Bangalang back in the day, because you tell me Frank Spencer, I won't know who you are. So you identify yourself proper. Bangalang came in at 7:09. Then we had Patricia. Then we had Everett. Everett, I did some work and I'm going to address it shortly. I did some work because I know for weeks now you have been asking me to give an explanation on this subject. So I am going to give some explanation sometime during the course of this program. Then we had Floyd came in here. Permission to fall in. He wanted to learn from his teachers. Sean came in at 7:22. Ex-Sergeant Robin Janat reporting for duty from New York. Sean is always here. Always. Then we had Francis came in at 7:22. And Francis said she wiped down her desk and she ready. Then we had Cecile came in here at 7:24. Then we had Maxine. Then we had Colin. Then we had Jakey. I know Jakey is from Baltimore, Maryland. Then we had Pito. Pito, you said recently you were in Guyana. Are you still there? 8152. Old Police Pito. Then we had Raul. Raul came in at 7:42. Philip came in here at from New Jersey at 7:42 as well. Then Guyana asked some questions which we're going to announce, which we're going to address a little later. Melissa came in next into the class. Then we had Princess from Lamar Springs. John came in at 8:04. Patricia came in here at 8:07. And she said, Orly, awaiting start of class. Court came in at 8:11. Tessa G from Orlando, Florida. She came in at 8:11. Edward came in at 11:13. 8:13. Bart came in at 11:19. Vernon, we are saying 11 all the time. You know what I mean? 8:19. Vernon came in at 8:22. Anthony J came in at 8:24. Stefan, old man from the yard, came in at 8:26. And the yard I'm referring to is at the dam, rather, the dam. Then we have Felicia came in next at 8:30. Trotty came in at 8:32. Barbara B came in at 8:34. Lyndon came in from New Jersey, Patterson, New Jersey. He came in at 8:35. Evangelina came in next. Then we had all the way from Canada, Constable 9795 Young reported for duty, and he was awaiting. We're not going to disappoint you, Terry. And then we had my old lecturer from UG, Robbie. Robbie came in at 8:41 listening. Then all the way from Portmore, JA, my old police friend, Dudley, is here. Then we had from New Jersey, 8218, Eric. He came in as well. Don't miss it. Then we had Kenneth coming here from Washington, Maryland at 8:51. Isabella came in at 8:56. Then we had Lynette. I know Lynette from London. Lynette from London came in here at 8:59. And then we had Daniel Corbin, gave his number here, came in. He said he's a regular bot. I don't know about what. Then we had my squad mate, Carl, 9414, Coast 74, all the way Coast 74 in 1974. And he operates out of Arizona. Then we had Winston at 904, Maureen at 909. Maureen said that she's a little late. She got distracted and she got to go and do eye surgery. So, Maureen, I want to, on behalf of all the speaking out persons, wish you every success on the surgery that you're going to have later today, and hope that you are restored to full health with God's grace and guidance. Winston from Ontario, Canada came in at 9:11. Junior came in at 9:15. Aileen came in at 9:15 as well. Monica came in here at 9:17. Wayne came in class from Brooklyn at 9:22. Ainsworth came in at 9:25. Ainsworth, I'm not sure if it's K-Foot. This may stand with this Ainsworth is K-Foot. Let me know if it's K. My friend, my good friend, 12505K. Then we had YouTube user. He was here and he said that he's morning to the distinguished guardians of decency. Thank you for that. Then Selwyn, the attorney, came in here, say good morning to Paul and Clinton. He was here at 9:36. Then we had Stian next at 9:39. Kodakwashi. Then we had Brower 14126, I think. Yes, Brower, all the way from British Virgin Islands. You see, I told you people are from all over. Speaking truth to power. And he came in at 9:44. Israel came in next at 9:51. And who we had next in class? I tell you, the schoolyard was full. And this is all before we went live, you know. Then we had Lennox at 9:57. We had Brian came in next. Then we had Jacko from Georgia came in next. Granville came in at 10:04. Courtney came in at 10:09. Tamo came in here at 10:10. Oren, I know Oren too is from the UK. He came in at 10:11. Fort Valley came in at 10:17. And you ready? He said he said top of the morning, Starboy detective reporting for duty. Handcuff, button, whistle at the ready. Well, you know, there's get handcuff now and button and whistle and all them thing. Fort Valley. He passed the diary so he can paint it red. I'm in a bad mood today. No mercy. Well said, Fort Valley. Then we had Troy. He came in next at 10:17. My squad mate, 9551 softly from Florida. He came in at 10:17. Keelan came in next at 10:19. Another squad mate of mine out of Canada, W349 came in. Doreen came in at 10:28. Kevin came in at 10:21. Chilo, I don't know, Chilo is in California. The one and only Chilo came in at 10:34. Rahim came in and Rahim said, morning, Uncle Paul. I have lots of nephews and nieces out there. He came in at 10:35. Lucius came in at 10:40. Old Police, Terry Dubisette came in at 10:44. Pamela Alls came in next at 10:51. Francis says she came back at 10:51. Then we had Wilfred, not Old Police. Then we had Malcolm. The old man, Malcolm, said a pleasant good morning to two noble gentlemen. Continue to exposing sloppy police work. Well, let me only exposing. We try to teach them what is the correct thing as well. Then we had Orin Yorick, 10:58 from Toronto, Canada. Then Colin came in at 10:58. And then the first Facebook, those are the YouTubers that were on very early before the program went live. Then the first Facebooker was Marcia. Then we had Patricia. Then we had Jagdish. Anne is a regular. We had William. We had our secretary, Denise. We had Bridget, and on and on and on. So what we're going to do, as we would normally do, we will start, and then later on we'll come back to big up some more people and so on. So as I said, if we were to go on with the roll call, we ain't going to get into the program. Some people say we should cut out the roll call, but roll call is important. You have to know those who are present. We must know who are the students who are present. And I understand. But remember, the roll call, the time taken for the roll call, don't restrict the time we spend on the program. So be patient and let's continue to do that. As I said, happy Independence Anniversary. And, we always have to regret to announce certain deaths. And the first one I want to announce, the death of the legendary Tina Turner, TT. What's love got to do with it? Private dancer. Simply the best. If you remember a certain pope in a certain situation, that is a song that the person sings, Simply the Best by Tina Turner. Then we had the tragic death of a Guyanese businessman and his son in Brazil. I think they were over there, the Guyana businessman and his son, along with an healthcare worker attached to the Latin Regional Hospital, died in a tragic road accident in Brazil, I think Bonfim, which is close to the border with Guyana. We also had the death of retired woman sergeant W306, Pamela Ford. I remember Pamela very well. She used to be at the finance office. For those older police who would remember that, she used to be at the finance office, and I think she was the sister-in-law of Assistant Commissioner, the late Assistant Commissioner Power Armstrong. Power lived in Rabbit Walk, in one of those houses that adjoins, that is attached to the building of the DPP, and Pamela lived there with them. So I remember her very well, and I think she went to Linden at some stage. She passed recently. And then we had a situation where I had to bring this to your attention. A 42-year-old Barbies woman remanded for murder after allegedly feeding her husband poisoned energy drink. The woman put poison in the energy drink. And according to this story, the husband caught her in an uncompromising position. She was caught with some man, to explain it clearly. And they had some misunderstanding. I don't know if he forgave her or what. But then the story goes, I know y'all like these salacious stories, So let me tell you, then he caught you on another occasion, on the same, with another man, a different man. And of course, he was the rebuker and the nagging and so on. So the woman thought the best thing to do, and that is the allegation. Remember, we say all persons are presumed innocent until proven guilty. That is part of the rule of law. So even though this is an allegation made against her, and that is what they're saying, she then laced this energy drink with a poisonous substance. But again, the police said she confessed. I don't know. The police said she confessed. So I would like to hear what evidence they have, apart from this confession statement where she said that she laced this energy drink with poison. And then yesterday, it was announced that another child from the Mahdia Inferno passed away yesterday in Georgetown. So the death toll now is 20. 19 teenage girls and the 5-year-old boy. So the latest we have now 20 persons died in that fire. And again, very sad. We're going to address some of the details a little later. Denise, you said the woman is also. I had a whole family, them people say she foot crick. Them people say when you have these women who were promiscuous. Used to say the foot quick, so maybe your foot was quick as well. And before I want to say condolences to the relatives, friends of the deceased persons. Sympathy to all of you. I know it's got to be very heart-wrenching to have gone through all of this. The family in Brazil, the children, and all of that. So it's a really rough period. Even I think last night I saw a photograph with 3 more who are being buried. And it's really sad. It's really sad. And what is also sad is the response, which we will deal with a little later. And let me, on a better note, for those of you who are following the NBA, the basketball, and what Chile rejoicing that the Boston team Celtics get knocked out. And here, let me skinny up, because he wasn't a Miami man. He was a Golden State man. He was all the way in for Golden State. So after Golden State take the blows, he then jumped ship, he gone somewhere else. Miami went up 3-0. And the whole basketball world was watching, because they said no team ever came back from being 3-0 down to win. Then Celtics came back, and Celtics leveled at 3-all. And I'm not a basketball fan, but I like sports. I hear the experts. Oh, the final, game 7 is played in Boston, and there's no way Miami can beat Celtics in Boston. In Boston. No way Miami can beat them in Boston. Well, as they say, the rest is history. Miami bust their tail right home. In the yard, you come in your yard for beat me. That is a bad man. When you go come in a man's yard and cut the tail, then you are recognized as a real bad man. So that is what took place there. I think the first final is something tomorrow, 8:30. I think I'll be watching that. As I say, I like sports. So I'm gonna be watching that. Let me bring in my colleague here, CC. I hope that the static in his line has disappeared. CC, y'all let me know if y'all can hear me, Sir Conway, clearly, because I am getting some static in the line. Let's let me know if you can hear him clearly. Very bad static. You have to relocate for what? A lot of static. You can't even make out what you are saying. We can't hear you. So right. So I will continue until we say, somebody said the Jagabats has worked. That's what they do all the time. They try to interfere with these truthful programs. So, but we're not going to be daunted. We're not going to be deterred. I will continue until CC is able to join us. And in the past, I've been able to go it alone. I don't want to go. He's back in the studio. Let me see, bring him in to see. Yes, CC, can you?
I'm hearing you. Are you hearing
me? Wonderful. I can hear you now. So whatever you did, the problem seems to have disappeared. I can hear you now. So welcome.
You know, let's find a way out, man. I'm going to try to tell in the land of the living. And we're doing Welcome to the product to the best to the economic support. I remember that. And also, especially the economic support. I never found that
nice continuity. When you came on, it was off, but then as you started to speak, this static again in the line. So try again, please. Yes, folks. So let me you know what goes on is bad again. Yes, I recognize that he's trying to get himself sorted out. So as I've said, I have in the past gone it alone. I don't want to go it alone today. I'm sure we all enjoy the contributions of Mr. Conway. So I'm hopeful that we can get him in without all of that noise in the background. Somebody said I got to read your lips. Right. And as we proceed, he's hearing me, so I can continue and he will join in. Again, the news yesterday talking about the Mahdia fire, if we to look at the Mahdia fire, that the 19th child died yesterday. She, according to the news, she was hospitalized in the intensive care unit in Georgetown, the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. And she passed away yesterday. That is the news. Really, really, really sad, because I can understand the anguish of those all the parents, but this one too, because they, I am sure, were clinging to the hope that she would survive. But unfortunately, she passed yesterday. Yeah, CC, welcome back. Welcome back.
Well, I'm trying another location. I don't know if you stop.
Again, you started off fairly all right, but then shortly after we get the list. But right now, I think I can hear you. So go ahead.
Okay. I'm so happy to be in that available. And
I'll see what you start nice again. I'll see what you start. We have some traffic in the line. We can't make too much. Yeah, folks, as I was saying, that the 20th child died yesterday, and somebody just commented, Commissioner Cole, 13 years old, my Lord, 13 years old that child was when she passed. Now, following this tragic fire 2 Sundays ago at the Mahdia school dam, you hear all kinds of statements, the politicians, government politicians in particular, they ran to the scene. The president is alleged to have said, he made a statement that we should all come together to deal with the crisis. So the tragedy should not be politicized. Yet, even though that has been said, the government is reported to have gone into the area. Don't politicize this tragedy. And I agree, it should not be politicized. But the government responded, they went into the area the following day. The people who are in charge of the region, the people who are in charge of the tongue of Mahdia, complained that no government official made any contact with them. None. So the president was there, the prime minister was there, several ministers were there, and they're saying that they never made contact with them to advise them that they're going, or once they were on the ground to say, well, look, we did how best we can work together. Even at the meetings that were held, none of these people were invited. So how can you be telling people not to politicize it? You're the ones who are doing that. You are the ones who are doing that. You are the prime minister. The prime minister and others gone there. Let me show that to you people again. Don't politicize it, but look what's going on. The prime minister is in the crime scene. What they call it in New York, a mass murder crime scene. He's there walking around. Look him. In the crime scene. What is he doing there? He wants a photo opportunity. So don't tell people not to politicize. The only reason that the prime minister, the minister of education, and all those people were there walking in the crime scene within 24 hours of that tragedy, contaminating a crime scene, is because they're looking at politics. They want photo opportunity. They want photo ops. You could have gone to La Pentiere if you want photo opportunity. You go to La Pentiere, sit down in that jungle there and take out your photographs. But no, that is not the thing. So don't tell us not to politicize. I agree that it should not be politicized. I support the idea that the tragedy should not be politicized. But I am saying, by the very action of the ministers and the other government officials, they are the ones who started to politicize this incident. By one going there, the response, yeah, you respond. But why would you want to go to a region where such a tragedy occurred and not informing those persons, the regional officials, look, we are coming in to be there? That was an opportunity to show unity. And people who are looking at this program may not know, the region 8 and the tongue Mahdia, they are controlled by the opposition. So one can only surmise that the reason that they were not involved, that the government did not involve them, is because of politics. So don't tell people with sense not to politicize this issue. We got to call out these things. We got to call out these things, right? So, and then if I see Mr. Conway is here, let me see if we can hear him. CC, let me make a next effort.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. I don't know
Yeah,
what
well, we
it
can
is.
hear you now. And a little stuff came in, but carry on.
Yeah, I was saying that after you use the language and I say, get down with it.
As soon as you started, we get continue. Let me see how best we can bear it.
Yes, and I was saying that I want to travel to Pressure and get our son with PhD and get a nice faculty.
We can follow what you're saying, but it is not of the best. But yeah, let people say feedback again. Feedback. They're working for you at Pegasus, that ours, or that at work. Because you really can't make out what you're saying. Right, so you're here for yourself, folks. You see what's going on. So yes, let me come back. Somebody said the hypocrites and all the hypocrites, whatever you want to call. I am going to continue to call out these things. I don't care. I don't care because it is the truth. As I've said, you can't tell people not to politicize the issue. And then as soon as the thing happen, you rush down. You're not contacting. You made no contact with the regional officials, no contact with the town officials. That is what they have said. And I have not seen anything rebutting any rebuttal. So you have to believe what the people have said, right? Because they made those statements publicly, and not a single government official has said, no, that is not so. We made contact, or we attempted to make contact, and we did not get through. That is how this thing is being politicized. And now, as I've said, the prime minister, they're walking around the place. And, we always making the news for the wrong reasons. Let me show you a clip. Let me show. I don't know how many of you would have seen this, but look, this is on Monday. And let me show it again. For those of you who don't know, that ticker appears on Times Square. Times Square, the most well-known square, not only in the US, but in the world. Times Square is where the ball drops on New Year's morning and all of that. Times Square, that is what it is there. The Times Square said, and let me show it one more time for those of you who might have missed it. Times Square. It is at Times Square in Manhattan, really. The most popular, the most well-recognized square in the world. Look. Ticker showed sometime yesterday. So we're making the news for the wrong reasons. We're making the news for the wrong reasons. Mr. Conway is back here again. Yes, CC.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I don't know how to get to me, but I'm hearing you all the time.
Yeah, we are here. You can hear me, but sometimes we get a lot of stuff. Even though go ahead. If we can hear you, we will continue. But if we can't, I'll have to take you out again. But let me hear you, see you.
And I saw that spirit, and I don't know the rest of the world. When you tell a little girl for 19 murders, no way else in the world, one president.
I haven't listened to speak about it in more detail a little later, the charge and all of that. But yeah, as I've said, we're making the news for the wrong reason. Sydney is saying he saw it yesterday afternoon, this ticker, Times Square. The crossroad of the world, somebody said. Yeah, and moving on. Well, I know you would want to express condolences to all those persons who have passed, and you would want to join me in wishing Guyanese a 50 the happy independence anniversary. So go ahead.
Yeah, I know what you said. I know.
Static. Go ahead.
She's always she was in a relationship with one of my friends. You are very, very close.
Our viewers have complained that they can't hear you, CC. So again, terrible. We don't know what is happening there. We don't know what is going on. We really can't hear you. We just can't hear. All we're hearing is static in the line, right? They don't want you. Somebody said they don't want you to talk the thing. They don't want you to talk. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. Now again, coming out of the same fire, the different stories that are being told, and now a lot of things in the past week, lots have been revealed. Lots have been revealed. Lots have been revealed. I have seen about 3 videos of persons who were at that scene the night and the next morning. And one of them that, 2 men are recounting how they were able to get into this building to save some of these children. Heroic. And I hope, they're late in a lot of these things. Those persons should be identified, those men who were able to break in and to go there to save children in neighbor and all that. Those people should be identified and given their just accolades, perhaps even national award. Those people are heroes to have gone into that fire, man. Talk how he went into that burning building. On a few occasions, he became weak, so he could not have gone again. People broke the wall to get those children out. Had it not been for the efforts of those persons, more children may have died. And we need to recognize those heroes. We need to recognize them. One of the things I think there was some amount of clarification because questions were asked about where the mother was at the time. And I think people are saying, people who are there, that she was in the building. People are saying that she was in the building. I asked the question on social media where she was. How come she did not get injured? Because you heard so many different stories. And that is why in these instances, in these incidents, the authorities have a responsibility to let people know what took place. The problem with them now, they tell so many lies that they lack credibility. So when they come and tell your story, you got to take it the whole bag of salt. That is the problem, and that is why I've been saying all the time that credibility is a big issue, it's a main issue. And that is why when we come on this program to speak, we make sure that we get the facts and we speak about things that we know of. We speak of things that can be easily substantiated and corroborated. Don't come here and talk any crap. And that is a problem that they have. Look, we like to look at New York or the US and all of that, where there are so many mass killings. And every time there is a mass killing in any particular jurisdiction, the officials will come out shortly after and give the facts to the public. They will tell you what took place in a manner so as not to compromise any ongoing investigation. They will come out and they will tell you. In Guyana, the opposite is what takes place. You don't hear anything, for example, with this same Mahdia fire over 1.5 weeks now. I don't know that you had any official press conference to update the public on what took place. And in the absence of information from the officials, all sorts of rumors and speculations, and you can't stop people, especially in this day of social media. And they have a responsibility to let people know. But what they do, they feed certain information to certain people who they believe are aligned or to them, social media operative and so on, and they put out a lot of crap which many times prove to be wrong. Then they have to walk it back. So your credibility gone. Your credibility is, if whatever you have, is shattered, and that is what you do not want. That is what you do not want. So I'm saying so many things have emerged. And let me tell you one of the most painful things to me, apart from the deaths are very painful, the injuries were painful. I heard a woman who lives nearby showing the people who were there, I think it was some people from the opposition, where these girls, these 13-year, 14-year, where these teenage girls used to go and take a bath by the riverside. No privacy. The woman said that there used to be a bathroom and the bathroom was broken down. So you had a situation at the Mahdia Secondary School. And based on the pictures I've seen, I have never been to the location, but based on the pictures I've seen, the male dormitory it looks like it's adjacent to the female dormitory. So you have a situation, according to what this person who lives there was recounting on this video, where these teenage girls had to go by the riverside, dip water and bathe, as we would say. So you dip water from the creek, throw it on your skin, and wash. That is what the people claim. And again, I say, nothing has been said to debunk that. Nothing has been said to debunk that. So how in God's name teenage girls are allowed to live under those conditions? You bar up the dormitory, iron grill. They're even they're like they're in a prison. And to have a bath in the mornings, afternoons, whenever, they got to go by a riverside or a creekside and dip water and bathe. And there's no enclosure to afford them any amount of privacy. That is what the people are claiming. That is what they're claiming where I went on. Mr. Conway is back in the studio. Let me see if I can bring him in and if there's any improvement. CC, I can bring you in, but whether there's any improvement, I don't know.
Well, let's just go.
Well, I gave you down, bro. We can't hear a thing that you're saying there. I don't know what is happening. But I indicated in the past we have had some statics, but then we couldn't make out what you're saying. But this time around, the static is there, and we really can't make out what you are saying. So try again, try something else again. Yeah, folks, and you hear for yourself whatever is happening to Mr. Conway. I suspect it's sabotage. I suspect that it's sabotage. But in this match, Jakey and those guys will know in this batch, last man batting out, you ain't gonna get two batsmen. You don't have to have two batsmen. The one batsman me alone, I can bat both ends. I am going to bat both ends. I am capable of batting both ends. And when I done bat, I'll take up the ball and I'll bowl. And when I done bowl, I can be the umpire as well. And this is a game, there's no fairness in this game, Jakey, because I am the bowler, I am the umpire. So that bowler, when I bowl and I knock it on your pad, I appealing as a bowler and I putting you out as the umpire. Oh God, say what you want to say, or it's unfair, or once I stick my finger in the air, you gotta walk off and go in the pavilion and take a shower. So that is what is going on. A little humor there. Yeah, so I am saying that is what was revealed. And I couldn't believe that you would have a situation where, according to them, 50-something teenage girls in a building under the care of the government, and they have nowhere to bathe in privacy. And you're telling me that Guyana is a real place? As the people said, that had to be a civilized plantation. And then you question how civilized it is when something like this can happen. And don't tell me that they don't know. If you don't know, that is incompetence. Because you ought to know, you have to have a system which tells you all that is going on in you. And those are important things, welfare issues. So don't tell me, they don't to say, is this body to be blamed and that body to be blamed? Because here now the Minister of Education is alleged to have said, because the people saying, I read it this morning, that the fire service flagged that building or the grills as a fire hazard, right? But they're saying now, well, it's the regional authority. The Minister of Education is alleged to have said that things like that is the Ministry of Local Government got to deal with infrastructure, work, and all this. So again, you see what's going on, shifting blames. It's not me. Shaggy in the house, it wasn't me. That is what is happening. Rather than addressing this thing frontally, blame is going to be passed it. Oh, it's the regional people. Oh, is the mayor. Oh, is this body. Oh, that is what you're going to hear. When it is clear that it's a failure of the system. It's a failure of the system. Once again, Mr. Conway is here, so let me see what's going on. CC, I hope we could get you now, man.
Well, I hope so. I hope so, Paul. I'm trying all the time. I'm trying
Well,
to
you
send
sound good
better.
now. I could tell you
Okay.
sound good now. So take your little button,
Yeah.
for now. Go ahead.
Yeah. This whole thing, Paul, is about behavior, And what they're doing, they're clutching they're looking at the fruit and not looking at the root. Because the root cause of this thing is about behavior. And we're talking about the house mother or the house father. Did they have any kind of training to deal with those little girls, 50 something girls in the place there? Their behavior is critical. Was there a social worker attached to the school? And did they have any kind of training? Things like anger management, conflict resolution, effective communication, self esteem, emotional intelligence, cultural awareness. Those things should have been embedded in those little children. But I don't know if the house mother or the house father or if they had a welfare officer to deal with them. It's about behavior. And you can't resolve conflict by bolting up a place, by grilling up a place. You can't resolve conflict in that way. That you got to know how to address behavior, and they have not been addressing behavior. They're cutting at the root, at the fruits. When they look at the root cause of it, behavior was critical, psychological treatment, self-esteem. Those things are should have been embedded in those children. They're in a difficult age, teenage age. That's why maybe they're experimenting with sex and that kind of thing. And you're gonna bolt them up, you're gonna lock them up in a place, and nobody there qualify enough to deal with them. Well, they should have people from the social science department, graduates from the social science department to deal with those people. You have hundreds of graduates coming out every year from the social science department of the University of Guyana. Employ those persons to deal with them. And not only the Mahdia school, all schools in Guyana, or you might have more things emerging, like what emerging at Mahdia, Paul.
Yeah, my brother, well said. Well said. Well said. You know, one of the things that came out too from the persons who responded, the first responded, the real first responders, and that is those persons who were there, who saw the fire and ran to that school. The people saying, if you look at the interview, the people said that the fire service for long was nowhere on the scene. But the fire service, remember themselves, said that when they got the notice of the fire, they responded on an ATV, alternate
Mhm.
vehicle.
Yeah,
That's what I said, right? And the
yeah.
people on the ground said it took a long time before the fire people came. And of course, when they came, no water and all of that. Those things have to be looked at. It's a failure of the system. Are we going to delve into it a little more? Because we would have seen on the ticker that I showed and in the media, the established and other social media and so on, that the teenage girl, 15-year-old, they say, was charged on Monday for with 19 counts of murder. 19 counts of murder. And emphasizing that 19 counts of murder. And they said that she's remanded onto a juvenile facility until the 5th. Some reports said the 4th of July. Some said the 5th. And here this. They say she is remanded. I mean, let me read it carefully. For statements and disclosure. And as teachers, let me tell you, somebody said that the static might be coming from a telecommunication system. There's a person or persons who is messing with the wavelength. So that is someone of the technical people on the line said. So yeah, I'm saying that she's charged with 19 counts of murder. And the matter is for statements and disclosure, either the 4th or the 5th of July. But now I find that strange because in matters like this, murder matter I'm talking about, and serious matters, after the first hearing, normally put out for a date for report. But to say that the date of July is for statements and disclosure, suggesting that this investigation might be finished, that suggests that the investigation might be finished because Again, for those people who don't know, especially the younger policemen who are listening, when you talk about statement and disclosure, you're talking about here about when you come the next day, on the 4th or the 5th, the prosecution is expected to provide the defense with all the statements and disclosure in relation to all the evidence they have in this case. That is what that is. All the statements and all the other evidence that they may have, because you have to present those things to the prosecutors, to the defense, so they can prepare the case. And one good thing out of this, I noted that Mr. Dexter Todd, Mr. Dexter Smart, and some other good lawyers appeared on behalf of this 15-year-old girl who is charged for murder. Now, if for those of you who saw the ticker that I showed, it is said on that ticker that the 15-year-old girl is charged as an adult. And I recall somewhere on Monday seeing that too. And that raised a lot of questions, because one of the questions I asked myself, if you're going to charge the teenager as an adult, then in the same breath you're saying that she's remanded to a juvenile facility. That struck me as strange, because I'm saying that if the person is to be treated as an adult, one would expect that they're going to be treated as an adult. So I am not sure about that. And again, these things, the people responsible don't give clarity, because again, one would have expected a proper release to say she's charged with murder, and whether she's charged as a juvenile or whether she's charged as an adult, because there are serious implications in that. But as we have said before, not only today, but previously, the information, the paucity of information. People are more interested in telling lies. They don't give information. My training in media relations as a senior police officer, you give out facts, you give out information. You don't tell a story. They come and they want to tell a story. So when you see the corporate propaganda unit of the Guyana Police Force put out a release, they're trying to tell a story, all sort of crap they write. And I noticed that the screenwriters in Hollywood are on strike for some time now. And I know that they're on strike because for those of you, people like Stephen Colbert in the night on CBS, I miss him. But because of the strike by the writers, these programs have been suspended. So maybe these people are auditioning to go and to write, but based on how they're writing, they can't make it. They can't make it, right? So they're not telling us. So the sticker in Times Square, the busiest square in the world, saying that the 15-year-old teenager is charged as an adult with 19 counts of murder. That's what they say. Guyana, the people in Guyana can't give a release to say whether that is so or not. And even though this ticker is there since yesterday, they can't come out and clarify to say, well, look, that is not true. Those people are not going to run that ticker like that unless they get it from someplace. They are not there in Guyana. They must have gotten it from someplace. So that is what we have taken place. So the 19 counts of murder, as I said, they doubt as to whether she's charged as an adult or as a teenager, and remanded to a juvenile facility. And I say here, before I bring in CC, let me say, and again, this must be the fastest murder investigation in the history of Guyana. This file took place Sunday the 21st. Like 4 days after the file, we were told, has gone to the DPP for advice. And shortly thereafter, Monday, just over a week of this fire, you have murder charge being brought against this teenager. And I'm saying that that is what you call indecent haste. And to use the words of the Attorney General Anil Nandalal, that is breakneck speed. That is what you call breakneck speed. CC, take clear this button, man.
Yeah, well, let me follow from you. Because a couple days after, breakneck speed, the file has gone to the DPP. And with breakneck speed, the DPP has recommended charges. Normally we hear, we only get it 2 weeks ago. And normally we hear, we send back the file for police to clear up nothing. There was nothing to be cleared up. I wonder what happened to the judge's rule. Um, the, are they based the case on inadmissible hearsay? Did she confess? And if she confessed, was her parents or guardian there with her? Or they just, listen to what people say and say, this is the girl who lit the mattress. And then what about the mental aspect of the crime? Was she aware of the consequences if they said if it's true that she light some mattress? A whole lot of things that go wrong, and this breakneck speed is that they're going to overrule many elements of the crime. I don't know what's really going on there, but it's alarming. Perhaps that might go in the Guinness Book of World Record in terms of 19 persons died, and in the case and in space a couple of days they filed with the DPP, and the DPP is a criminal proceedings, and they submit the file without they didn't have the cause of death. They didn't know the cause of death, and the file has gone to the DPP and with a recommendation for murder. Ridiculous, Paul. Alarming.
Well, I guess that is why, saying that, let me be a little, say, the presence of the prime minister in the crime scene, for all you know, the man do some work there. I remember the prime minister and the Minister of Education were in the scene within 24 hours, walking all over the scene. So maybe he had skills of Inspector Peru and all of those famous Angela Lansbury and all those famous investigators to be able to determine the cause of death. But let me go on. In yesterday's paper, I think it was Tablet News, letter to the editor. One man there whose name is Singh, that's the only name was stated. And I'm reading what he said, and because I have the same questions to ask. He said, I am no liar, but the terms reckless endangerment, dereliction of duty, failure to monitor, criminal neglect, criminal negligence, duty to care come to mind. Then he went on to say, again I quote, the police charge a PNC man for calling now PPP supporter Chase Green a false name. Would the police charge anyone in the negligent government system for the likely involuntary manslaughter deaths of 18 of our Amerindian daughters and one son? Well, now is 19. Pertinent questions. All of those things. Reckless endangerment, you lock up children in a dormitory that is grilled, so they can't come out of the dormitory. Then you have criminal negligence. You have also duty to care. They have a duty, these parents from these remote areas send their children there in the care of the government. You have a duty to care. Those things come to mind. So they sing whatever you think is absolutely correct. And then when you talk about the investigation, my Lord, and I said here, it will be interesting to see the evidence that will emerge. So on July the 4th and 5th, when they present statements and all of that, it will be interesting to see what they are going to give to the defense. And then it was reported that statements were taken from all of these people who were victims, those are the survivors, and they were witnesses. Statements were, they are juveniles. Statements were taken from them. We want to know if the parents were present. Parents or guardians, were they present when these statements were taken? All of these things, questions are going to be asked by the defense lawyers, and rightfully so, because I see right away, without going into all the details, I'm not privy to what actually transpired, but based on my experience, that is a big problem to get those statements accepted. Whether it's a caution statement or the statement from the witnesses, they're juvenile. There's a juvenile act. Because I'm saying the absence of the parents or guardians is trouble with those statements. The Juvenile Offenders Act of the laws of Guyana 1003 speak to how statements should be taken from juvenile. I think at some stage they said that some school welfare officer or someone was present when those persons were interrogated. Or the law says how those statements are to be taken. And if you take those statements in contravention of the law, you're in serious trouble in terms of getting in. And that the investigators should know that, and the DPP's office should know that. So when that file that went to the DPP's chamber in breakneck speed, did they examine all of this? Or this is a rush to try to satisfy the public that something is being done, which I suspect is the case. And again, before I bring in Mr. Conway, let me ask the question, because I know back in the day, there was a police juvenile branch. Is there still a police juvenile branch? Because those people in the juvenile branch were trained to deal with juveniles, whether they were delinquent, whether they had other issues, they were trained. They knew how to deal with those persons. So I'm asking the question whether they still have a juvenile branch, and if they do, what was the role of the juvenile branch in dealing with this matter? What was the role? And as my colleague said, CC, the DNA reports, they're charged even before the other persons were identified through DNA. And talking about DNA, again, that was breakneck speed because it was sent abroad and quick time it was returned. And we spent how many millions of dollars over the years to get a lab at the back of UG there. And apparently there is another white telephone. That is like the Skeldon estate. Another white telephone sitting there, millions and millions of dollars spent, and it can't fulfill the purpose for which it is designed. CC.
Yeah, and even with the cause of death, how did they identify the people? And it's again breakneck speed. Some other days you get cause of death, you get DNA, and that white elephant or the blue elephant that we have at the university here over 10 years ago, and they can't do DNA. We gotta get a man coming from Barbados, and they gotta send the samples, and then the custody, the chain of custody of those samples. All those things will come into play. And who identified that girl? Did they find a woman, a investigator from the police force? I don't know if they have any women who could do investigation at that level. You know, for the matter, even the women are being sidelined in the police force. I mentioned several times that a woman can become a senior superintendent and it could be a assistant commissioner in the Guyana police force. Not a woman. They sidelined the women. And the thing is that who took the statement? Was it a male or was it a female? So many things have gone wrong with that investigation. I saw the Home Affairs Minister kicking away stuff at the crime scene, kicking away stuff at the crime scene, maybe vital evidence, maybe it could be a bone or some flesh be me kicking there, that they breached that crime scene, and but we could talk all day in terms of things that went woefully wrong. I even with our case that they charged us 2 years ago and they can't get disclosure. How they gonna get disclosure on when the case is called up again, the mass murder. And I'm saying a teenager, a female teenager gonna be on 20 murder cases unheard of in any part of the world, Paul.
Let me say before I go on, there's a recruit on the live, so you should lock up the NDC and the mayor. Obviously a jagabat, obviously a amphibian. So what happened to all the other persons recruit? What happened to the responsible minister? What happened to all of these people who put that system in place? If you're going to talk about accountability, how can the accountability be there? So recruit people like you, whoever you are, you look like you are mentally challenged. So I'm not going to dwell much on you. I see some people responded to you. When you're going to make a statement like that, it shows the level of your intelligence. Now, let me say this further, coming with the same thing. Mr. Conway alluded to it a while ago. How do you prove? And as I said, we are trained. We were privileged to have proper training as police officers. I am no liar, but I got the best training as a police officer, as a senior police officer. FBI Academy, Police Staff College in the UK, and elsewhere. And I always know, since I was in training school, they tell you that in order to prove a crime, any crime, including murder, there are two main elements. And then they use the Latin words. They say you have to make sure they get the actus reus, the actus reus, or as I said, the actus reus is a criminal act, or the mens rea, which is a criminal intent. So to prove any crime, you have to prove the act, or you have to prove the state of mind. Most crimes, I should say most crimes, because the lawyers will tell you about strict liability and all of those things. So we don't want to get into that at this stage. But yeah, there's this concept that some crime, what they call strict liability, for example, they say the marijuana charge is used with strict liability. They say if you're in possession of marijuana, you're guilty of an offense. You don't got to be knowingly in possession. When you talk about knowingly, that's where you bring in the mental element. That you got to know that you have these things. But in a crime like murder, you have to have the act which caused the death. You also have to have the state of mind that you intended to cause serious injury or death. And let me tell the people something more. When you talk about concurrence, one of the elements, concurrence or premeditation. And hear what it says. I'm going to the notes. Premeditation occurs when an individual plans to commit a crime and develops a strategy to undertake a crime. For instance, you wreck a bank for security and you buy a gun with the intent to commit a robbery. That is premeditation. You knew that you wanted to do these things, so you're prepared. And then they say causation as well. You talk about causation in a crime, and it says the relationship of cause and effect between one event or action and the result. They say harm is related to causation. For example, if someone walks into a shop and shoots at another person and he misses, right? You're going to charge for attempt murder. It can still be charged for attempt murder because the shot was intentional, the actus reus, and the cause of death, causation, the cause of their action rather, you get the causation. So you have to have those elements. I remember a case over the river some years ago. I was still in the force then. So the older people might remember. Some DJ, I think that's Vignob Stelling. There was some altercation there, and a policeman, I think he's still in the work. The man pulled out a gun and attempted to shoot the police, but the thing snapped. He was charged with attempt murder. And there was a debate, attempt, you ain't got no injury. But you don't have to have injuries. You don't have to have injuries to institute a case of attempt murder. You can prove the act and you can prove the intent, because when you point a gun to a man and you pull the trigger, the intention was to kill him. So based on that, those charges could have been filed. And you remember not so long ago too, in the national park area, where a woman pulled a gun at the police, and I don't know what she was charged for, but again, a lot of dancing took place in that one. Y'all do your research and find out. So again, I say all of that to say, I want to see how you can bring in this 15-year-old guilty for murder. I want to see how. Because you got to prove the act, which perhaps is easy, because you get people to see the fire was started, which resulted in the death. But the mens rea, the state of mind that this person at the time of setting intended. I know the lawyer is going to come and say, I'm no liar, but that is me police training. I am no liar. That is my police training. I want to also say here, to the benefit of these persons around, that the goal of the juvenile justice system should be to rehabilitate offenders and restore them to society. That should be the goal of the juvenile justice system. So I don't know how they intend to rehabilitate this young lady with a murder charge. I don't know how they intend to do so. But Cece, let me hear what your views are.
I agree, And I say it's alarming. A 15-year-old, I'm going to make me point with 19, I'm going to be positive 20. And then what you do again? You carry her to the juvenile holding center, which is worse. I pass there regularly, it's grill up. from top to bottom, he grill up. And every Tuesday come down days where she there. And as you maybe say, the mental aspect of things, means, yeah, there's what you gotta look at. How would you rehabilitate her? She's a juvenile. She's a juvenile, and I really don't know. I really don't know what really what is their goal. Perhaps they have a different goal, Maybe because you come from a gold mining area, Majo, they have different goal.
Yeah, well, again, let's look at what occurred not so long ago in the Orange Boston case. Policemen barge into Orange Boston's resident, shot and killed him in his bed as he lay there naked alongside his wife, shot and killed him. That file took weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And eventually, why is it? Policeman charged with manslaughter. The policeman was charged with manslaughter. So here it is. Just juxtapose those matters. This thing, let's assume what they're saying, that this girl set this fire for whatever reason, persons end up dead. She charged with 19 counts of murder. So there's a lot of stuff that you got to unpack when you see these things. A lot of stuff, because some of these things really don't add up. And I don't know how you can escape the inference that it is political. These things are done to allay certain concerns and fears, but that shouldn't be the aim. The aim is to make sure that when you're going to institute a charge, that you can sustain the prosecution. You can sustain the prosecution. So I don't know what goes on. And I have experience in this, I mean, I can't talk about it on this program now, but there's a time we're going to tell you. We're going to tell you all of these things. People ended up getting charged and no evidence and all of that, just to satisfy or just to political ends and political purposes. I will talk about it. We will talk about it. We will talk about it in due time. Hold on. There's a time longer than twine. Hold on. You're going to hear all the shenanigans. We're not going to let up. We're going to let you know. Now, the next thing I said very early in the piece last week that there should be an international commission of inquiry. I said commission of inquiry. I don't think I said then international. But there's a call now for an international commission of inquiry to inquire into this file. I fully support that call. However, it has to be people of unblemished reputation. Let me repeat that. It has to be people of unblemished reputation who are credible. And let me tell you something about a commission of inquiry. I held one some time ago. Let's jump on the talk about commission of inquiry. But the commission of inquiry is circumscribed by the terms of reference. In other words, what is the scope of the commission? And I'm saying that if there's to be a proper commission of inquiry into this Mahdia tragedy, the terms of reference must be agreed on by not only the government or somebody who sit down in some government office and restrict the role of the commission. It must be put together by the parliamentarians, all. It must be civil society should be involved. And therefore, in doing it that way, you're going to make sure that whatever findings the commission of inquiry should come up with should be credible and acceptable. But you bring a couple riffraff and you put them and you call them commission of inquiry. From the get-go, nobody is going to believe what they say. Nobody is going to believe what they say. Look at next jackass company thing and say the goal is to defend criminals. But if for 37 years in the police force I run after criminals. We're not here to defend criminals. We're here to talk the truth. And you don't, a man is not a criminal because he's accused of committing a crime. A person is not a criminal because they're accused of committing a crime. There's something called rule of law. You have to go through the process. So gear or whatever you name, that is not, again, these people's intellectual capacity is challenged. It's not about defending criminals. Have you ever arrested a criminal or anywhere? I arrested several over the years. So don't come with this crap. They're sending them out. According to one, the Volkswagen, they come out. They come out. So they're sending one of them out. But you know, I said that we have the remedy to deal with cockroaches. Once you see cockroach turn on the light, they're going to run into the hole. And those who did not run carefully, then you'll put a lash on them. Right? So don't come and talk about defending criminals and a whole set of bullcrap. Let me understand it. Now moving on. I say you got to get proper terms of evidence, terms of reference, perhaps even binding recommendations, because we have seen recommendations in the same fire. The fire service said that they made recommendation recently on 2 occasions and nothing. So if you're going to have recommendations following a commission of inquiry, then the recommendations got to be binding. The recommendations should be binding. And I say here too, I see Mr. Conway gone, so I'm going to continue until he comes on. I see here too, and I'm saying here too, that I am hoping that the government and those people in authority are sitting back and waiting for the establishment of a commission of inquiry to take certain measures to address certain glaring shortcomings, like grill to similar institutions, like fire alarm, like firefighting equipment, like for example, like the fire service equipped with stuff that can cut out grill, that can break concrete walls, because grills and concrete is not unique to Mahdia. All over the country, once houses are built now, people get steel grills, people get concrete walls. So you have to equip your fire responders to be able to gain access regardless of the circumstances. So I'm hoping that they're sitting back and say, oh, all right, we're looking for some people to form a commission of inquiry and we're going to await the recommendations. I did see some report that I think people in the fire service have started to inspect schools, but not only schools. Following the Big Dam fire, I wrote and I said that all government buildings should be inspected to make sure that they have fire extinguishers, they have fire drill, fire escape, and all of these type of things. We have had so many fires in schools over the past 2 years or so, and people sit back. They haven't done anything of any substance. So that's how you could get this Mahdia thing. Yes, Cheryl, jars of life. Jars of life is an instrument. You see they use it on cars, where a car gets into an accident, the person is trapped. They use the jars of life to rip out the whole frame of the car to get that person out. You have to have those things. You have to have. So don't sit back and wait to get a lot of oil money. Oil money circulating. And you have to prioritize the spending. Not money for the friends, family, and favorite. Not money for the boys. But you have to make sure that it is channeled in the right direction. So I'm saying, hope they don't wait for that. And the other aspect I want to mention about this fire thing before I move on, there's a lot of time spent already, but we're not going to rush it because of time, is, following the fire on the Sunday, the president, I think it was Monday, declared 3 days of national mourning. The first thing strange, and I commented on it last week, is that the national mourning, president ordered to commence 4 o'clock afternoon. Well, I never heard that in me. And I do a lot of reading on these things. I've never seen it any place else. Really, the day of mourning starts at basically the end of one working day. One would have thought that the more prudent thing to do is to start it the next day. Right? One would have thought. And the president complained, I have it something here, President complained about he scolded. The thing said he scolded the private sector about activities during the period of mourning. The president is reported to have scolded people from the private sector about activities during the period of mourning. And I say this. So let them, I know they're listening. Let me give you some nice advice, free of cost, that you have to have a protocol developed to deal with things like that, day of mourning. Some people must know what should be done on a day of mourning. Not only you tell people to fly flags at our staff, if that's the only thing you want, then say that. But I would recommend to you that to develop a protocol, somebody who responsible for protocol and so on. Say, on days of mourning, that is what we have to have. Flags are going to be flown. Our staff, you explain how that is done from 6 to 6 or whatever it is. You explain that in detail because, as I said last week, a lot of people don't know how to fly a flag as our staff. Some of them flying an half pole and all sort of thing. But explain that in detail. Then you may want to recommend, for example, what type of clothes to be worn. Can't I recommend what to wear? But in this thing, you can say sober color and that type of thing. Government employees should wear armband. You should wear You have to put those things down in writing. You can't say that you're declaring a period of mourning and then when I'm going to play music or you continue to advertise the show, you come to scold them. Those things have to be laid out. You can't assume that people know what to be done. So lay it out. Your clothes to be worn, whether it's armband, music to be played on radio stations, etc., entertainment and other public activities that will not be allowed. Those things have to be put out. And I don't think this is reinventing the wheel because I have a suspicion that if they're to do proper research, you're going to find those guidelines and you adapt it to suit the conditions in Guyana. So understand. And I said the period of mourning was done in such a way to make sure that by weekend, when you get the all the what they call it stinging nettle and the moderation, that nothing could affect those shows. Money got to make. Money got to make. One of the promoters, when he was questioned, he said, well, we can't call off. And then they promised that part of the proceeds will go to the surviving relatives of the parents of these fire victims. Let me see how that went. I know a particular man when he said them things, he used to come afterwards and cry, said the sport didn't make money. So therefore he ain't got nothing to give. A particular promoter. He ain't the wrong now. He ain't the wrong in terms, he's not promoting now, still alive. But that is what he used to do. He's a man who used to promote and he don't want to pay the police. I remember he came to do a show in Barbies when I was a commander, and he was told that Jackie Opel, you gotta pay up front because he had a reputation of when the show finished, police work and all of that. He then cried, said the show bust, as we would say, and therefore he tried to negotiate something else, and he didn't want to pay the approved rates. And I told him, I said, let me understand this thing clearly. If I think the show was a Saturday night, if the money was not lodged with the police by a particular time, there will be no show. And of course, the money was lodged and the show went on. You got to know how to deal with these people. You got to know. But let me give a few shout out. Mr. Conway is out the studio this time. I think he's trying to get himself together. Shout out to, I see, I start from the bottom. Evelyn is here. As I said, the secretary earlier, Denise was here. Rohan, old police, he worked with me at the TSU and elsewhere. Eddie, Clyde Edwards, I think a Clyde number, I'm a numbers man, 0623 Edwards, I think it is. Let me know, hit me up and let me know if I'm correct. Then we have Kim is here as well. Kim is a regular. Sheila's boy child is here with us this morning. Welcome. Share the live. Continue to share the live. We have the numbers that we have not reached last week numbers as yet. So keep sharing. Then we have Abdul, man from Essequibo Coast, and Desiree is here. Desiree, she said fire drill should be conducted every 3 months of the year. I agree. You have to have these things properly organized. Can't be any willy-nilly arrangement. Those things have to be properly written and practiced. So I hope that this thing is going to be, this tragic fire at Mahdia will be the catalyst for all of this. Then we have my cousin name, Ron. Welcome. Isabella is here with us. Michael is here with us. Cheryl, she says Jars of Life. Yes, Cheryl. Yes, Commissioner Cole, a regular, is here. Always make good contributions. Carol, Robbie from Finance is here. So many persons are here. My cousin and neighbor Trifosa is here. Who else? Let me see who more. June is here with us. I note too that we had Vibart is here. Welcome, Vibart. Auntie Yvonne is here. Welcome, Auntie Yvonne from the Bronx. Who more we see? Anthony is here. Let me go through. Carl is here as well. Talk about the government incompetence. So we know that by now. Heather, always here with some very good recommendations and so on. Welcome to you all. Gloria is here. I know, I say out front parts already. She's here. Umo, Fitzroy, all of these people, full school again today, full school today. Sagi is here. He asked the police state for the first responders. They asked the same question this morning, Sagi. I asked the question, have they taken statements from all of those forces who went there? I suspect what they're going to do. They're going to say they're going to be a part of the COI. So now that you want to institute charges of murder, they didn't see it necessary to take statement from those forces who arrived on the scene first, not the fire service, the people who arrived. So we talk about first responders. We're not talking about the official first responders, as they would call them in the US, fire service and paramedics. We're talking about the persons who were there, who saw the fire, and they ran to the scene to assist in rescuing those children. I know the text statement from them. I don't know. Perhaps they did. I don't know. So let me see. Corinne, welcome, Corinne. Hope you're enjoying your retirement. So many persons are here online. Another squaddy of mine, Sheila. I missed you last week. 351 Hamilton. Square pegs in wrong hole. So, Ingrid, which lab you're talking about, girl? Which lab? Which lab? So, yes, we have a lot of people on board this morning. But continue to share the live. Continue to share the live. I see Mr. Conway is back in the studio. So let me bring him in. Mr. Conway for CC. I see you were out for a while, so now that you're back, take some back in, man.
Well, I'm back. Maybe Ted was at work, but I'm back. I'm back for yeah. And yeah, Paul, do you hear me?
A lot of static again, CC. If you're hearing me, a lot of static again. Let me continue. I think that is all we want to say for now about this fire. If there are updates, we're going to bring you up to date in future programs. But let's move on. And I want us to move on now to deal with the update from the prison escape. I don't think I need to recap what was said before in terms of what they really said. And, one of the strange things people have been asking this question, when this incident occurred, when it did 2 Fridays ago, the release from the police that said that the one of the accomplices was known. I think they said he was charged some time ago for murder, or he served a sentence, something like that. But he was known. They gave the impression that they knew him, and therefore the first question that I wanted to ask, and I did ask, why wasn't this the name of this person publicized? If you know this person, one could have reasonably expected that you're going to put out the name. The police have a penchant now for wanted bulletins. One would have thought that you would have issued a wanted bulletin for this man. But nothing was done. So on a day like today, I'm not aware that the police has given a name for this accomplice that they claim to have known. They said there were 2. They never gave the name. They said the 2, and based on what they said, they knew who one of them was. Nothing. Nothing, right? There's somebody saying 412 he was in company of persons known to the police, implying more than one. Yeah, there's really, afterward they said two, right? Now, so no wanted bulletin. Why? Why no wanted bulletin was issued? I would have thought that you're going to issue a wanted bulletin, you're going to plaster the picture all over the place so that in case anybody see these people, they can alert you. And that is one of the reasons we issue, in a situation like this, we issue a wanted bulletin. So because you don't expect any of these persons to turn themselves in, like the other persons for whom wanted bulletins were issued. Man wanted by the police, he turned himself in because you're investigating some money laundering or something else. You cannot expect that the escapee and the accomplices will turn themselves in. So the purpose of the wanted bulletin would have been for the public to be aware of who these persons are, and if the wanted bulletin was accompanied by proper photograph, to be able to inform you if they are sighted any place. But then, you know how this thing go. This damn thing is rocket science, I guess, to a lot of people, right? So that was one of the questions I wanted to ask. And then we saw again another breakneck speed where 4 prison officers and 2 civilians are charged. A lot of questions. 4 civil prison officers, including the man who was in charge of Mazaruni prison. I don't know him. I have no recollection of ever meeting with him and so on. But people have said to me, this is a man who worked and retired at 55 and was brought back in the system. Here it is. The man worked his way up the chain of command in the prison system. He retired and he came back. According to one of the news items, I think he's 59 years old. So one can reasonably assume that he has been for 4 years after retirement. And he is one, they say, and everybody said the thing, he's charged, and I like to write down these things. He's charged along with for conspiring, hear what they say, conspiring to facilitate the escape of death row prisoner Roydon Williams, known as Smalley. They say that he and others conspired. They're all charged with that conspiracy. And let me tell you what a conspiracy is by definition. I know because I am charged with conspiracy along with the Conway conspiracy, and I know they're going to know evidence. So that when immediately I saw this conspiracy charge, y'all got to forgive me if I was very, very skeptical, and I remain very skeptical of a conspiracy charge. Because when the man escaped, I was looking out, I said, well, some people get lashed with dereliction of duty and all of that. But no. It's a conspiracy charge. And here, what a conspiracy is by definition. Again, I gone into the teaching mode. I can't help it. It's in my blood. It's in my DNA. So they say a conspiracy, also known as a plot, is a secret plan or agreement between people called co-conspirators. Conspirators or co-conspirators for an unlawful or harmful purpose. Or it's an agreement by 2 or more persons to commit a crime or a wrongful act. So you basically what it's saying, that these men agreed, the 4 prison officers and the 2 other persons agreed. They form a plot. They conspire to free this man. Everybody, I will remain skeptical. I will remain skeptical because I can't see these men conspiring. All got to be involved. You know, when you talk about conspiracy, you're saying that all of these persons get together and as conspiracy, they get into this thing and they sue. Because you don't expect they're going to conspire openly. They sue. We can lose this man. That is what they are claiming took place. And there are questions that say, again, they're part rush to charge. And then again, conspiracy. Again, I believe that this is just done to satisfy public outcry as to what actually took place. Because remember, it was last week, I think we said, that according to the laws of Guyana, the Prison Act, Williams being a prisoner sentenced to death, there are severe restrictions as to who can interact. First of all, they say he must be in a place by himself. So in other words, you got to be in some room. You can't share room with other prisoners. That's what the law says. And it went on to say that only prison officers, the medical people, and some religious persons from the denomination of the condemned prisoner can interact with him a written unless a written order is given by the director of prison. We all know in this case that they say that a foreign speaking woman, people assume to be Venezuelan. I think she did admit later on that she's Venezuelan. She's in the country illegally, and she sells services, whatever services it is. Maybe later on, CC can explain. You see, I am a little naive, so I don't know about these things. CC is a little older than I am, perhaps even more experienced, and he might be able to tell you what they mean by selling service. That is what they claim, right? But they said that she got permission to visit this man. A lot of questions. What is the relationship between this woman and the condemned prisoner to have allowed permission to be granted for this visit? Was this visit a conjugal visit? All of these questions are to be asked, and nobody is saying nothing. No one is saying anything. Who authorized this visit? Was this the first visit? How many visits like that you have had before? I guess again with this investigation, they're going to do that. So maybe this requires a commission of inquiry as well to delve into all of these details. Because it is clear from what they have said and the conspiracy charge that this visiting was a setup to get this condemned prisoner out of his confinement to an area from which he can escape. That is what they are saying based on the statements that they have given. That is what they are saying. So how come? Only these people? How come? And how are you allowing a visit from a foreigner? I think this man was in jail. I think he was recaptured in 2017. So how come? What is the relationship between this prisoner or this condemned prisoner and this person to have allowed you to grant her permission to visit? A lot of questions have to be asked. A lot of questions. We require a lot of answer. And the salawala that the minister and the acting director gave can't suffice. I'm talking about the acting director again. I say I don't know him. Mr. Conway said he was a police and all of that. But I want to remind our viewers that the substantive director of prison is parked in a corner. Gladwin Samuels, I think his name is. For over 2 years now, he parked in a corner somewhere in the ministry with nothing to do and all day to do it. So that is what is in this matter. These questions require answer. And no rush to charge for conspiracy is going to allow these things to go away. No rush. And I would hope that more voices come out. Call them out. They must provide answers. Because if answers are not provided, then one will the remedies, the necessary remedies are not likely to be taken. And next thing, God forbid, you're going to hear even worse than that happening. So those are questions to be asked. Those are questions to be asked. And let me bring in Mr. Conway before we go into this shooting. Let me bring in Mr. Conway for him to give his say. CC, let me hope we can hear you now. You would have heard me. What are your views on the things?
Yeah, I heard you, Paul, and I agree that conspiracy is between two or more persons for the plot. So, what was the methodology for this person? Did they talk on the telephone? Did they reach, as you mentioned, were there several other visits to the prison? And then when we look at it, Paul, here is a man who retired over 4 years ago and is in charge of the maximum security prison, the Mazzaroni prison. Perhaps like the Guyana police force, there's no succession planning. Even if you take him on there within 4 years, you cannot train somebody to take over from him. So many things went there wrong. And as you mentioned, the woman from her own voice, her own mouth, she said she's a cook and she provide other service. perhaps she was there to provide rail service for the prisoner and maybe extension for other members of the prison service at the Mazaruni prison. So many unanswered questions. Apparently, no succession planning in the prison. You take a man who retired and 4 years since, 4 years afterward, he's still in charge of the Mazaruni prison. Things that will go wrong, things that will go radically wrong. And then allow you to start off with the recent shooting to death of the prisoner. You take it on, and then I'll come in after that, Paul.
All right, thanks, CC. But I agree with you. No succession planning, and that is not only in the prison. A lot of places, you get the man who's sitting down in the chair at the commissioner there. Should have either gone and leave or go for retirement leave, and they still get there. And he's not there because of any display of competence. They're just keeping people in position that they want to use. And note that somebody said there's so many acting persons and so on. It's like Hollywood. It's like Hollywood, a lot of actors and so. So, but when you talk about succession planning at the prison, it is glaring. I recall not so long ago that I think it was when the director Erskine left the job. They were in a quandary. They brought, I think it was a retired officer, assistant commissioner from police strats, and then they also brought in, I think the guy Makanji or somebody from the GDF to help the prison. So apparently there is no plan there, no proper succession planning, and that is what you have. That is what you have. So when these things happen, how can you be? You might be shocked, but these things are set up to happen this way. They are set up to happen this way, and as you said, they escape. Well, at least we know Williams is still on the run. Last Sunday, a release was issued that the first release I saw, I follow these things, First release I saw was that this man, his name is what I think it is, was shot in a shootout with the police. He was shot in a shootout. There's a first release I saw, shootout. So I say, all right, you're shooting at the police. Police have a right to shoot back. And if you are dead, then so be it. Call a shootout. But then my suspicions were aroused when they say that no firearm was recovered. So you ask yourself the question, if you have a shootout with the police or the joint services and one man, how come no weapon is recovered? Unless you tell me that perhaps he was near a trench, near a river, his firearm went overboard, and you're not able to recover it. Or whether you tell me that he was there with others, and the others might have picked up the firearm and run away. But they say one man, and no firearm recovered. So it was suspicious. Then the next thing I saw, a photograph. I saw a photograph. This photograph, let me show you. I saw this photograph of someone who they say is the same man or woman. And as we can see, he's lying there on his back. His hands appear to be behind his back, restrained. Someone got a right side crack, or is a right side from the shape of it, right foot on his torso. And if you look carefully to the right, you see here too, a boots, so somebody else standing up right there. So it appears as though at this stage, this man was alive. The police then issued a release to say that this man was killed. And their story is that he was being transported somewhere, they didn't say where, on an ATV, an all-terrain vehicle, and he snatched an assault rifle, let's say AK-47, which was on the lap of one of the rank on the ATV that this was being driven. He snatched this assault rifle, he jumped off, he attempted to crank, that's what they say. he attempted to crank this rifle, and someone else who was armed with an AK-47 discharged 4 rounds in his direction. One, they said, round struck him. He fell into a pool of water. And again, I'm relating what they say, He fell into a pool of water and continued to attempt to crank this assault rifle. And one man in the party armed with a 9mm pistol discharged rounds at him. I think they said, I can't remember how many, 2 of which they say struck him fatally and he died. That is the release they give. Now, there are so many questions to be asked. The picture that I showed, let me show it again. It would appear that the man is alive, or is alive. It appears as though he's restrained, because you can't see Yan. It looked like he can't tie behind the back. Further restrained with a foot on his torso, and it appears as though somebody else standing alongside. So this man, they want us to believe that after all of this, because this cannot be after he died, let me understand this thing clearly. This is before he died. So they want us to believe that sometime after this, after the capture of this man and him being restrained, he was put on a ATV, Yan behind the back, because the average day is Yan behind the back. So they're suggesting to us, based on this story you're told, that they move Yan or they release him, or he maybe is a magician, one of them fancy magicians who is there on them TV. David something one, the Copperfield, huh? He's Copperfield. So with his hands behind his back, he snatched a rifle from the lap of one of the persons escorting him, attempted to run away. He attempted to cock this gun. He had behind the back, according to the picture they show. The man had behind the back. The man attempted to crank, not cock, they said the man attempted to crank this gun. But this story sounds so remarkable. How can you expect reasonable people to believe that? And then let me show you next photograph. Next photograph here. This photograph appears to show that this person here, the blur it, based on the release, that this person here is the deceased. See, they get the cover with some type of plastic and all of that. And I want you to look carefully, because it appears as he's at some camp. Because look, you get caught. Look, you got 2 assault rifles, one here and one there, lying on the cot. My Lord. 2 assault rifles. This is supposed to be the deceased person, based on, and this is the picture on social media. I'm only analyzing what is put out there. Look, you got a rank. Or I can't say a rank because I'm not sure it's a rank, but a person walking there. This man lying there appeared dead. A cot here looked like the type of cot that police or soldier people will use, or people use in the bush, not necessarily police and soldier. But look, I am saying police and soldier because you have 2 assault rifles lying on the cot. So, the guy was saying, you got to reel and come again. This story does not add up. Somebody said the maths and maths in. This story does not add up. It would appear, based on what they say, and based on the picture, that this man was held, the man was restrained, hand behind the back. So this other part about this shooting thing, I can't understand. You get the man hand behind the back. The man is on an ATV being escorted to some place. And this Houdini, somebody put it there, this man is Houdini, is able to snatch a assault rifle from out the lap of someone, and he still attempts to crank it, as they say. He attempts to crank it. He shot, he fell down. He got up and he attempted to crank again, and he was shot fatally. How are we to believe that? That sounds logical to you? Rick or Rick Rock, whatever you say, that story sound logical to you? Does that sound, I want you to comment, Rick Rock or whatever your name, or Shit Rock or whatever you say it be. I want you to comment, does that sound logical to you? Tell me, as they send you, you come out. You come out according to the Volkswagen, you come out. So then you come out, let me hear what's going on. Somebody said there's match fixing, but it is worse than match fixing. No, match fixing. Match fixing, as I know it, that's done with some sense because you expect your action will not be revealed, but there's no match fixing. There's no match fixing. CC, help me out here before I go further, man. Help me. Because I'm still trying to figure out this Jim Cock bring Ram Goat story. And here will be problem. I don't mind you saying something like that. I don't mind. But you have to start off with once upon a time. Or you have to start off with Moriddle, Marie. Because we know as little boys when you want to tell a tale or a story, you give an alert up front. Moriddle, Marie. And then you go, your father had a tree and all this other thing you just say. Or once upon a time, as my friend from Jamaica said last week, a Nancy story. But Dudley, that is the thing, better Nancy. But in Guyana, we just call it Nancy. We shorten the thing. Instead of a Nancy, we say Nancy story. So that is what it is. CC, have a go, man. Have a go. Try to explain this to me and our viewers.
I can't explain it, but I would start with Marie. Um, the whole thing, I really can't think, Paul. But there are some questions, that they really can't answer. First, one of the public relations officer of the man who sits in the seat, I think a couple of days before, he mentioned that the police had arrested somebody and they were giving good intelligence to them. That means for say that the person was alive. And then they're saying that also that one of the victims, remember they had a boat and they had put some people on the guard that they got there. So one of the person had identified the suspect. I don't know whether they identified when he was alive or was when he was dead, or if that witness was in the part of the operational party. Here is it. A policeman has a gun in his lap, not probably secure, and this person who hand behind his back, who was restrained and perhaps his foot and also was restrained, was able to snatch this weapon. And as you mentioned, and attempting to cock the weapon, they shot him and he fell into a ditch. We know what with the weapon, perhaps the weapon still in the ditch. You know, and many questions, Paul, that we really don't know what really took place there. It is not clear. It is not clear what happened. Share Nancy story going on there. And they talk about AK-47 and 9mm. The whole thing, that I really can't fathom it. I can't help you there, Paul. All sort of, my son used to say, nonsensical nonsense. And a part two, no, as you mentioned, no wanted bulletin. You know the man. You know he was a murder accused. And no wanted bulletin. A WPA activist talk about what he heard, what somebody told him, and wanted bulletin for him. We had recently two people from the East Coast who are in contact with Suku. No wanted bulletin for them. And by the way, what happened with them? We heard that they went to Suku and then nothing else. The whole thing is I can't find words to describe what really took place there. That we cannot believe that story. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Complete fabrication and total distortion of facts, what really took place. And we can't buy that. We can't buy the Paul. I can't help you with it.
But here was the story. You said that he cocked the weapon. There's a cock, there's a crank. So I don't know that's police language or military crank. And one of the things that I've been saying, they say it was a joint services operation. So we don't know if it's the police shoot or if the soldiers shoot. Because joint services, one would expect that they had both police and soldiers. So we don't know. So we still, and they have not sought to clarify anything. But again, I say the story that is being told. I mean, how can you believe something like that? And to tell a story like that, for them to tell a story like that, they're insulting the intelligence of all of us. They believe it's only Rick Rapp. They believe it's only Rick Rick We're quick saying now we're giving the benefit of the doubt to criminals, and another foolish comment. It's only people like Rick Rick can understand what is being said. And people like Rick Rick will come on this program and make those type of comments until one of the family members are victims. We are not supporting criminals. Let me say it again. But there's something that your Attorney General like to talk about, rule of law. And there is a rule of law. There's a presumption of innocence. In a democratic society, that is how it works. You have to go through the process. And I said yesterday on a program, and I'm saying it again, for all to understand that police are going to be involved in situations where they have to resort to lethal fire. In other words, you have to shoot, and in shooting, somebody dies. I'm not against that, because if the police life is threatened, you can't expect him to stand by. There are circumstances when you are allowed to shoot, and if in shooting, and we'll address that shortly, if in shooting someone dies, then is a process. Investigation, coroner, the complaints authority, they're involved and they investigate. So I am not saying that police want to shoot, but I am saying again, for people like Rick Rick, the story that is related by the police is difficult to understand. The story the police telling me how this thing happened is difficult to understand. It's only a fool, only a jackass can believe what they say. And when they put something like that out there, I am saying they're insulting the intelligence of all those who are going to be reading it. All those who are going to be reading it, when you talk that type of nonsense, you put that nonsense out there in writing. And nobody's going to call for them to go home. They're drawing big fat money for writing this type of nonsense. It's the same people telling me some time ago on the East Coast where the stationary vehicle which was parked, right? Same people, the same people who told us there was a decomposed body found at West Demerara and taken to the West Demerara hospital to be pronounced dead. It's the same people. A lot of the rubbish, and they're still there. And it appears that though no one monitors or no one vets what they write, so they write a lot of stupidness, and this thing go all over the world. And the people believe that the Guyana police force got to be the most backward police force, if not in the Caribbean, in the world. Because when you put out something like that, how are people to find you credible or a respectable institution? How are people to believe the nonsense that you're told, unless you're talking to Rick Rick and the likes of Rick Rick? Nobody believes that. Nobody, no reasonable person can believe that. Somebody said it was kindergarten children. I said even kindergarten children are more intelligent than that and will not believe that crap that they are told. Now, let me move on. And you talk about the PR man for this thing. It's the same, you said PR man, I said PR thing, the Volkswagen. I remember when there was the or in Boston killing, early release, that Boston snatch, they like the snatch gun story, Boston snatch a gun from one of the persons and was shot and killed. That is the thing what I said. Turned out to be a total fabrication. The same wagon on the 1st of January, if you remember the killing of the policeman at Maikoni, early o'clock, the feed is something, he come out and he said, well, the man fired one wrong in the direction, one wrong struck, Botberg was the man's name, who was resisting arrest. One wrong struck him, passed through him, and struck and killed Corporal McPherson, Detective Corporal McPherson. When you hear the story, the man himself, he fired how much wrongs in the direction of the people. That is what it said. So they get these people with no credibility, absolutely no credibility. They come to tell people that are rubbish and expect people to believe it. But it's a fool attack, but fool not listen. So if you want to talk to your colleague fools, go ahead and tell them that. But I am sure, apart from Rick Rick and who some, or maybe somebody else on this program, we don't have fools around. And even not on this program, the average man in Guyana, people are not going to believe the story, because the story, even if you want to give the police the benefit of the doubt, let me understand this clearly. Having served 37 years in the force, I have a lot of contact still in the force. And I want to give the force the benefit of the doubt. But there's no doubt here, there's no benefit here to be given to them based on the story that they have told. And I'm emphasizing that. I ain't been there. Is what they say happened. I ain't been there. Is what they say happened. How can you believe that? How can you believe that without starting out it with Marie? So we know it's a tale, we know it's a lie you're coming with. But we big, but we ain't stupid. We big, but we ain't stupid. See, before I move on, anything else you want to add on this?
Um, I want to say a couple things about use of force because we're dealing with force. And I going back to my notes. Just bear with me a while. Let me talk about use of force. I can't remind the notes that I got. The use of force is sometimes a necessary part of the job, but determining what is reasonable is highly subjective. Now, the International Association of Chiefs of Police define force as this. It's a force, the amount of effort required by the police to compliance from an unwilling subject. This includes physical, chemical, impact, electronic, and fire force. And talking about excessive force, this is what I said. The application of an amount of force and or frequency of force greater than that required to compel compliance from a willing or unwilling subject. Now, there are several case laws that I've read. I haven't read any about Guyana in terms of use of force, but one that I like is Graham and Connor's 1989, and it's a U.S. case. Hear what they say. The court held that the calculus of reasonableness must embody allowance for the fact that police officers are often forced to make split second judgments in circumstances that are tense, uncertain, and rapidly evolving about the amount of force that is necessary in a particular situation. Norwicki, our use of force expert, said the standard according to the decision is a reasonable objective officer. There are several use of force manuals. And permit me, let me just go across them. And this one that I like is from the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. They talk about 5 levels. Level 1 is is a compliance level where no use of force is usually reasonable. Level 2 is a resistive, passive level where the suspect does not follow the officer's commands. Force options here include guiding or directing the subject through hands-on techniques. Level 3 is a resistive or active level, which occurs when the subject actually resists arrest. Level 3 options include joint manipulation or restraints, leverage techniques, pressure points, or even pepper spray, with a warning given force under proper circumstances. Level 4 is the assaultive or bodily harm level, a direct physical attack on the officer or others. Appropriate force options at this level include, and listen to this, strike with hands, fists, elbows or knee, kicks, button strikes, and forcefully directing the subject to the ground. And this last one is the one that we come to. Level 5 is the assaulted serious bodily harm or death level, where the appropriate response use would be deadly force. And the use of force experts three give three rules relating to the use of force. And they're very, very interested. Rule number 1 is that you go home the same way as when you went to work, alive. Rule number 2, you do not go to prison. Rule number 3 is that you keep your job. If your use of force is reasonable, you protect yourself, your agency, the community, and even the assailant. But when in doubt, always remember rule number 1. Let me go over the 3 rules according to the use of force expert. Rule number 1 is that you go home the same way as when you went to work, alive. Rule number 2, you do not go to prison. Rule number 3 is that you keep your job. And if your use of force is reasonable, you protect yourself, your agency, the community, and even your assailant. But when in doubt, always remember rule number one. So the thing is, what is the reasonably objective officer? And I rest my case here.
Thank you, thank you. You know, and that is a good way, or that's a good tone in which I need to go into the other issue. And
Yeah.
on Sunday last, I saw a program where a young attorney was explaining the police standing order 18 on when you may fire. Let me start out by saying I commend that form, the Dexter Todd, Dexter Smart, and those persons associated with that law firm. I think they have regular programs, Royce and Drake's do something there, where they highlight certain issues. Landlord tenant, this last um, program there was what police standing order when you may shoot, when a policeman may shoot. Now I need to clarify certain issues. I need to clarify. So as the lawyer said, there is no law, there is no law really which says that that is what you have to do. Well, hold on. They got this cockroach coming in and talking a lot of shit. So let me give the black. They say let me give the black holy man. Let me give the black holy. Right? I'm gonna give the black because he coming and talking a lot of crap to distract. Yeah. Now the whole story is, as he rightly pointed out, there's no law. But we have the police standing order 18, which speaks to when a policeman can fire. And as I've said in the past, we did it before, but I think it is important enough for us to go over this thing as to when a person can fire. Right? And let me put it up here. I think I have the slide, so I'm going to put it up and I'm going to attempt to walk through. I want 10 for us to walk through it. Let me take it down. Let me walk through it and explain. So young policemen, older policemen, let me understand. These are the rules as to when you can fire. And I recall when we were revising the standing order, we went through it in details, and some of these things might have been modified. But even though they were modified, I don't think it is published or accepted. The changes have not been accepted. So as far as I'm aware, they are still the standing orders to be used. And it says here, and quickly, we're going to go through it. I'll put it up for you to see. Standing order 18, they said they on the mention are principles when a rank issued with a firearm may fire. In other words, may shoot. At all times, these instructions must be recorded in the ranks pocketbook. I know Mr. Conway going to tell me we still get pocketbook. And read to them when they are issued with firearms or sent on duty. That used to be standard. An entry must be recorded in the station diary at the same time of the parade that this was done. In other words, you make an entry that John Jones was sent on duty with a revolver and that the firing orders were read to him. All constables with less than 2 years service will copy these instructions in their pocketbook and will be questioned on parade as to their knowledge of them. That used to be standard. Questions used to be asked to make sure that if you're going out with a gun, you know when and how to use the gun. Right? So, young policemen listening carefully, the first one, A, you may fire when you are attacked and you apprehend serious danger to your person and unable to defend yourself by any other means. This used to be the main one. You are attacked, somebody attacked you, and you apprehend. In other words, you feel you're going to have serious danger, you're going to be injured, and you are unable to defend yourself by any other means. And any other means here, well, we don't use taser in Guyana. It's an issue that we have to address. So if you have a button, one expect you might be able to defend or fend off yourself with a button or whatever other means you can use, you use. But basically what they're saying is that you resort to the firearm as a last resort. You attacked and you apprehend serious danger to your person and unable to defend yourself by any other means, then you can shoot. And let me say up front, because that's one of the issues I have with what the young lawyer said. whenever, and I used to be a firearm instructor for years and years and years in the police force. So I think I know what I'm talking about. When I attended the FBI Academy, I did a course in deadly force management, which also tells you about when you have to shoot. Come on, once you got to shoot, this thing we're talking about shoot to in the foot. This picture story. Policemen are not taught to shoot someone in the foot or to fire warning rounds in the air. If you got to shoot a person in the foot, well then you end up. This doesn't apply. Because they say you apprehend serious danger to your person. Once you apprehend serious danger to your person, the training is that you shoot to eliminate the threat. You shoot to eliminate the threat. It's only a picture with Clint Eastwood and them man shoot, knock out gun out to people and shoot them in the foot. That is not the training as I know it. So let's understand this thing clearly from the outset. Because we were talking about shooting in the foot and shooting in the air. Them is picture story, right? Them thing get directors who does set cut and they get first take and second take. In addition to being a firearm instructor, I think I know something about shooting because I represented the force and the country in competition. So I know about shooting. And even the most skillful of shooters can't shoot gun out to man and just like that. Not, at least not in Guyana. And shoot man at some distance, man running, shooting the foot. That is picture story. That is rule 1. A. B says, when property you are ordered to defend is attacked and you're unable to safeguard it by any other means. So you're guarding somewhere and the property is attacked, you're unable to defend it by any other means. Remember, they're emphasizing by any other means. In other words, shooting got to be a last resort. Shooting has to be a last resort. So when they talk about any other means, that is what is implied there. You have to use other means available. And when the other means fail, then you can resort to your firearm. C says when attack is made to rescue persons in lawful custody. The word custody is left out there. So if you have a person in lawful custody and an attempt is made to rescue that person, you can shoot. Again, as a last resort. Let me emphasize this as a last resort. And then we have here, when anyone is found committing or about to commit a felony, burglary, shop breaking, store breaking, house breaking, arson, larceny, and they had murder, rape, all of those things should be included. And hear what they say. Read the last part carefully. And does not desist after warning, and cannot be deterred and used up or arrested by any other means. Again, emphasis is on any other means. In other words, again, I say it's a last resort. When anyone is found committing or about to commit a felony, and they list some of the felonies there, and does not desist after warning, and cannot be deterred or arrested by any other means. That is when E says here, to prevent a police station or outpost from being overrun. So an attack is made in a police station or outpost, you are expected to, you can fire to prevent it from being overrun. And the last one, which I'll explain, which was always controversial, they say, when so ordered by a superior in rank. Now, when we did the review, we examined this in great detail. When so ordered by a superior in rank was examined in great detail. And we actually explained it further to say that this only occurs in a public order situation. In other words, you go out there, what we used to call a riot unit, and you are engaging a riotous crowd, and the officer in charge, or whoever is in charge of the unit, instructs for fire. Under those circumstances. But this does not mean that you go out there and you're constantly go out on duty and something up when the cop will tell you shoot, and you're going to be justified in shooting. No, I think we had even removed this one from the standing order. I can't be sure Mr. Conway might be able to clarify. But let me understand it. In the days when I trained, this was limited to public order situation where you're out there, the riot unit is there, and instructions are given for fire at the crowd, and that is when this being must be. So understand this thing clearly. These are the rules of engagement, and they still stand. They still stand. So even though they will want to tell you, oh, the standing order is old, and maybe the circumstances are different. Yeah, circumstances might be different, but those are still the rules as to when you may fire. Now, there's always a question. There used to be one of the things that used to take time to explain. Because back in the day when I was a firearm instructor, we were told and we taught people that if someone was running away from you, it is difficult for you to justify shooting at that person. Because remember, the first one says if you're attacked and you apprehend serious danger to your person and you are unable to defend yourself by any other means. Now, if a person is running away from you, it is difficult to apply that rule. But there is a case law, I don't know exactly where, I think it was Ian Chan, said that if you have a fleeing felon, in certain circumstances, a fleeing felon, you might be justified in shooting. And then we have seen that part of the research and part of the training, we said that because in the days when we taught these things, guns weren't, people now used to commit crime with gun, a little knife or something, they hadn't that type of guns. But when the guns started to be used, we had to modify the training. Because a man can be running away with you, run away from you, he has a gun, and he can still present a serious threat to you. That he can point it back and he can shoot at you. So there are circumstances where when a person is fleeing, is running away from you, you might be justified in shooting at that person. Again, I say the person got a gun and the person is pointing the gun at you, pointing it back and shooting, you can be justified in firing at that person. So those are the rules. So coming back to this Nancy story that they told, these same rules apply to that. The same rules apply to when you may shoot. So the sad thing, and let me say this before I move on, and before I invite Mr. Conway in to give his speech. And I used to teach that this does not only apply to police, the private security personnel, the man who is a licensed firearm owner. These are circumstances that I used to teach them. This is when you should shoot. This is when you are permitted to shoot. No, they're like warning shots and all of this type of crap here people talk about. Like you shoot in the air to scare away people and all of that. No rule to say that. Maybe they can adapt if they want and modify the rules. But as I know it, those things do not obtain when it comes to firearm. And that is why, as we have said in the past, this is a very serious thing. Unfortunately, the level of training in Guyana for people carrying firearm is woefully inadequate. The level of training, and not only training to shoot and hit the target, but training which tells you, like I just did, when you are legally authorized to fire. It's lacking. People are given firearm, they don't get a clue. And people are, including police, they're given firearm. And I challenge the minister. I challenge the man who sits in the chair and all them. Look at the police on the road. Any police on the road. Armed police. Police. And say, hey, let me hear when you are authorized to shoot. What standing order 18 say when you're authorized to shoot? And you will be surprised. You will be surprised. I bet in you 90-something percent, 98, 99% of them can't tell you these rules that I've just read, and they're walking about with gun about the place. Let me bring in Mr. Conway. Mr. Conway.
Yeah, Paul.
As a man from the cool, as a man from the cool or the college, let me hear your views on it.
Paul, you are very clear. Now, I know it well. It's Forsada number 33 of 1969 and republished many, many times afterward. And I can recall in 1974, it was republished. I was a constable at my Coney police station. And anytime you uplift a firearm, for the matter, you have to write this when you may fire in your pocketbook. And anytime you uplift a firearm, You have to read it to the person who is issuing the firearm, and an entry would be made in the station diary saying force order number 33 of 69, read and explained to the constable and or the rank, and he said he understand the nature of the document, and you have to sign in the diary to it. And after a while, I didn't have to read anything; it had in my head, and I used to just reel it out. And I agree, the thing talk when by any other means. And it's true, Paul, we review this standing order, although they said we didn't do anything. And that the body that they have there had done the work, so there's no need for us to renew the firearm. But now we're hearing that the University of Guyana, of all persons, reviewing the standing order. So go back to the force order when you may fire. We had issues with the last one when so ordered by a superior in rank. In our review, I think we took it out. And there is a article, Article 38 of the Constitution of Guyana. It was said the integrity of the of the police service. Oh no, let me go over. The integrity of public servants is guaranteed. Full stop. No public officer shall be required to exercise or condone irregular acts on the basis of higher order. So when talk about when ordered by a superior rank, the article 20 says no. If it is not legal, you are not to obey it. And don't tell me when so ordered by a superior rank. We read about the Nuremberg trial, the trial in the Hague, the war crime where it say that a, even a general gives a private soldier an order and it is illegal, he's not bound to carry it out. So when so ordered by a superior rank, it's dicey and we didn't go along with it. And here is where the Constitution is backing you. It says no public officer shall be required to exercise or condone irregular acts on the basis of higher order. So when the politician giving you order making political decisions with the Ghana police force, you are not going to obey it. But we have personnel who don't have stones, who don't have backbones, who will go ahead with what the politicians say. So this force order 33 of 69 is critical and it is a guiding principle. And as you mentioned, Paul, it is also for the private security personnel and the persons who have been granted approval to carry firearms.
Well said, well said, well said. Now let me give you a joke about the same gun story. You know, TSU back in the day, people used to go to CSU on confinement to barracks. I mentioned this before. Now, you have to be trained to use a firearm before you give a firearm to go on duty. So Daco Cummins, 5798, Sergeant Cummins, there was a guy from the band room, Skip, 91, well, I think it's Squaddy, CC, 91 something Skip.
Squaddy,
Huh?
my squaddy.
Man. And apparently, he was never trained to use firearm. So Cummins did not know that. So Cummins paraded him to set him on duty at the Bernard and told him to go to the arms room to collect a revolver to go on duty. And Skeet was a worthless man. Skeet smiled. He said, Sarge, I can't go on duty with no revolver. I can't go on duty at all because I'm a band man. I was never trained to use a firearm. Daco said, no problem. Daco tell he said, let you go and uplift a button. He said, Diarist, book this man on duty, ask for revolver, but with a button. So Daco gave a button for going on duty with, and he told the diarist to book him going on duty and book him ask for revolver, but with a button. So that is how serious this thing was. You have to be trained before you are made to uplift and use a firearm. Now, let me move on. Let me move on to say, I know today, again, I make a couple notes, that there's this matter. I tell that it is clear that the Guyana police force is being weaponized to charge persons for calling persons a name other than their own. And I saw the thing in the news. I was shocked. Well, I shouldn't have been shocked, but I was surprised. I'm going to call a certain person out slave and switch. And she make a report to the police and my person arrested in charge. Same thing in New Amsterdam. I hear somebody call a old-time PNC lady, and I use the word old-time advisedly, real old-time PNC lady, a switch. And the person arrested in charge. So we're really going on in the Guyana police force. I know back in the day, and I'm sure CC can support me, somebody come to the station and make a complaint that somebody call him a false name. Because if you were from the country, like I was, is almost everybody get a false name. Almost everybody. I remember Jumbie Photo. I remember Coca Monkey. I remember the man Running Dollar. These are BV people. The people there from BV will know that. Running Dollar. I remember all kind of false name. And what happened? Somebody comes to the station and they make a report that somebody is calling them a false name. To their annoyance, you go and you try to warn that person. You want the person to desist from doing so. Entries are made. Now, if the person continues and a report is made, then you charge them for provoking breach of the peace. And sometimes you even advise them private action. Take private action. But no. Somebody go and say, somebody call me a slave. Somebody say I switch. Somebody call me a switch. And people, the police force is now used to charge those persons and put them before the court. See, you have a nonsense like this?
Yeah, and in my days too, and I always gotta refer to my Coney. That's where I got my foundation as a police. And all the offense we used to classify them as provoking breach of the peace. And if my memory is right, I think it's section 141A or something of this, some readers of the act there. Yeah, that you want people, you want people of that, and it's really provoking breach of the peace. And just going back to weapons. In my days as a constable, certain men couldn't carry firearm. They so used to say, "Well, you don't behave too nice, you can't fetch firearm. You gotta get an SMS." And we're talking about Stanley more special. You gotta get a button. That not every rank that you give a firearm to work with, and not on every occasion a rank would carry a firearm. That they because some of them would do nonsense with a firearm and shoot indiscriminately, that they breach the force order number 33 of 69. Therefore, you gotta be careful. And the thing is that this is the reasonable officer. Is your conduct reasonable? Did you follow the guiding principles as set out in the force order 33 of 1969? And that is the guiding principle. Anytime you shoot, you discharge a wrong, you look at all the 369 and see if anyone would cover you. And I'll say I don't like the last one when so ordered by a superior in rank.
Yeah. Well said. Now, Ron, I gotta correct you by. That will show you how you're young. Ron say that one of the I put it up here. One of the fast name, he said younger tiger. Not younger tiger. That's my cousin by Rodwell. Yangur Tiger. No, younger tiger. The man was known as Yangur. Yangur Tiger. So maybe you spell it, maybe the spell check catch you there. But no, younger tiger. Yangur. Rodwell used to dig grave on Swan. Some distant relative of mine. Yangur Tiger. Yeah, everybody in the village at well, not everybody, most people at fast. Pipey Laurie was a teacher, Mr. McDonald. Everybody know Pipey Laurie. Yeah? They get the minister from the place there, Pillory Joe. What everybody had a fast name. And when you call him out a fast name, a matter of fact, if the man was your age group, a big fight. It's big pashre. And in some cases, the we older people got to the station and make a report. The greatest fast name in my village, was Ezekiah. Ezekiah. And why it was the greatest fast name? Because that was his correct name. Mr. Ezekiah Azor. But his fast name was also Ezekiah, depending on who call it. So he was a little boy, and you say Ezekiah. That is a false name. The big men can call you Hezekiah, no problem. I remember Hezekiah back up one of his schoolmate in the yard at the school we played. When he passing going down the road, everybody remember Hezekiah, Hezekiah. He ignored me going down the road. We played with marble. Lado is a great uncle. Lado says he's a great uncle. So I tell you lie. So when he passed back there now, we see he coming and we run. But we want him a schoolmate, hang up a see, he want to come up to you. Then he hold up, but he see hold up, but he start always start say, Mr. Azor. All he tell you is say he. Now all the studies, Mr. Azor, oh Mr. Azor, oh Mr. Azor. He want to pull out a little cutlass there. He said, let me make a bargain. Oh Mr. Azor. He said, only make your mouth like you're gonna say Hezi. And then you got hand you the fin kaya. So all of that thing, everybody get fast name, man. So now that when you call a person fast, they run to the police, they weaponize police, and then they're charging. And you know that the people who are charging are people who are alleged to be supporters of the opposition. How sad. How sad. Right? How sad. Let me move on. There are a couple more subjects. So we're done with 2.5 hours. We are almost closing. I want you all before, make sure you get your snacks for today, you know. I want you before. Then we see a police sergeant charged with stealing a firearm. A sergeant charged with stealing a Glock pistol, you know. And CC, you would know that this thing been around long, you know. This story been around long, that this man thieved this gun, and then they dancing. But like little pressure come to bear now, so he's charged criminally for stealing this firearm. And you know they say, why Sloan can't be talking about these things, so we can't do nothing about it. So maybe this is one as well, where because it was given some prominence, they feel compelled to charge. Then we have one. This is a follow-up. We reported some time ago, I think it was last week, that there was a fatal accident on the East Coast Rupert Trade Highway outside the infectious hospital. This is Lillian Dahl, outside the COVID hospital, as you call it, where the police said a man on his motorcycle was riding going west, and the front of the motorcycle collided with the dog. He fell on the road and he subsequently died. Well, one of the questions they had asked, if he riding in a direction on the front, so I don't know the side or the back could have collided with the dog. But anyhow, that is a way of putting it over. I was surprised to see later on, they now say a man is arrested, somebody's arrested. I don't know if it's the owner of the dog or who, but somebody is arrested in relation to this same fatal accident, right? So just a follow-up. Follow-up to, I noted, we said last week that there was this accident at Camp on Church Street in which the sister of the MP died. I noted they said too that someone is charged for causing death by dangerous driving in respect of that matter. And we also told you about the man who jumped over the rail of the High Court and escaped. You know, they say he was recaptured. The thing is that he was never recaptured. The man jumped and the man got away. And the next day, the man turned up in court. He told the judge that he was sorry. A follow-up to that is that we have seen that this man get off from the charge. He was charged for rape and I think assault causing actual body harm. He got off from the rape charge. The jury found him guilty of assault causing actual body harm, and he is to be sentenced sometime down the road. Which they say he's supposed to come back on the 29th of June for sentence. But that was such an amazing thing because this man was on bail. This man wasn't in custody. People ask the question why he wasn't charged for escaping from lawful custody. But he's not in custody. He was on bail. He came to court. And all things being equal, one would have expected when the day's proceedings were over, he would have gone away again and come back whenever the judge said he would come back. But for some reason, this man bust a sprint. Of course, when he came back the next day, he said he was sorry and his bail was revoked. So he's in custody. So I suspect that now that he is found guilty for assault 68 that he is still under remand until the 29th. So what a thing. What a foolish thing for that person to have done. I don't know what caused him to do that, but it was a real stupid act. So again, I say he wasn't in custody. He was on bail. He was on bail. He came to attend court. And then the question was asked, if he came to attend court, he was not in custody. Why was the police escorting him? He said he wanted to go to the washroom. I really don't know. I really don't know. And some people said about the same thing about handcuff. But in the circumstances, one would not have expected him to be handcuffed. Because as I said again, he was on bail, he report for court. So I don't know. And some of these things defy explanation. And then I see one, which I sure I'm bringing CC to explain. They say a man charged with fraud for pretending that he was in a position to help with firearm license. And they said between the 1st and the 20th of February, he received $200,000 from somebody, one victim. And then 1st of March to the 30th of April, he received $250,000 from another victim so he can get him licensed. And then later on, he received $1.5 million from somebody for say that he can get him licensed. As you see, maybe they went to the wrong man. Maybe they went to the wrong man because you have spoken on this program, you have written in the editorials in the newspaper about this big gun runnings. This is more evidence because here you have a man who is a civilian collecting money from people to get them to give firearm license. Like something went wrong and he ended up on fraud charge. What is your take on that, man?
Paulie, he didn't go to Fifth Chandler Park Drive. He didn't go to Young Street. He didn't go to a house in Rap Street. He didn't go to a building northwest of the breakdown police station. He didn't go to those places. But sir, and I repeat, and it's still striving. It is a multi-million dollars business going on, and there's a doctor involved now. There's a doctor involved in the thing. You pay the $1 million and you get, but he didn't go, he didn't have the right connection. But things happening, and I said things happening under the very nose of the Minister of Home Affairs. Thing happening right there, the gun running taking place and other locations. So I'm not surprised that he get caught because he didn't do the correct thing. He didn't go to the right place, Paul.
Or the victims. The victims did not go to the right place because maybe if they had gone to the right place, you're gonna get licked up. Or maybe he tried to this man who's charged trying to cut up somebody running. So maybe
Yeah.
something went wrong, so he ended up with 3 charges. Now the next thing so I saw a report to the magistrate clerk, it's alleged the Diamond magistrate clerk fraud, but it alleged that on the 16th of May, she forged a Bank of Guyana check to the amount of $978,000. And then on May 12th, she forged another check, $985,000. And then on May 16th, another Bank of Guyana check, $985,000. Business bright. Business bright. This is a clerk they allege of a magistrate who forged within that short space of time 3 Bank of Guyana check, each totaling over 900,000 Guyana dollars. My Lord, what is going on? What is going on? And then today, in closing, I got 2 things I thought to talk about. But this one struck me this morning. We had asked a question about the PS whose phone was seized by the Customs and Border Protection Agency of the U.S. in Miami. And they dance, you didn't hear nothing, you didn't hear nothing. We had asked the question whether she was on the job. I read today that the phone was returned to either the PS or the ministry. So I had to laugh. I said, phone returned, what does that mean? That they ain't get the information? That is so jokey. Because once you phone in custody of anyone with competence, that don't clone, that don't download all the information. So when you get back an instrument, but these people get all the information that they want. And then I saw too that the PS is inspecting capital works and the police. They said in today's paper, for those of you who haven't read it yet, she was inspecting the repair or the rebuilding of the CID headquarters and works being done at the Tactical Services Unit police headquarters. So they, based on the report in the media, the permanent secretary whose phone was seized, whose visa was revoked, and who was arrested by the authorities and kept in custody for over 3 hours, I say, handcuffed and all of that. Back on the job. Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised? What about the other PS2? The one from Marine Affairs, who they set this thing operation and Carter taking $200,000. I wonder what happened to the other PS who had this 10 billion Guyana bank account. He was the PS at office of the president. 10. Wonder what happened to them. You know, they used to have a program at the end of the year, no big thing, and they used to ask the question. I wonder what happened to our Ram used to play that part. I wonder what happened to this. So I wonder what happened to this man, the PS at office of the president, the $10 billion story. I wonder what happened to the PS at Marine Affairs, who, as you recall, the virtual complainant went and he said he doesn't want to give any evidence in the matter, and I think the case was dismissed. Wonder what happened to she. We don't have to wonder now about the PS Home Affairs because it has been reported in today's paper that she is inspecting buildings being constructed at police headquarters. They mentioned CID headquarters and they mentioned the tactical services unit building. So business as usual, man. This is Guyana, not a real place, a civilized plantation. Not a real place, a civilized plantation. And CC, last one, when you come in and you're going to give your closing remarks. I'm wondering, what happened to these buildings at the Adventure Training Establishment? Buildings that were built by the commander then, Winston Gordon Felix, Commissioner then, Larry Lewis. I was at that opening ceremony. That's when Art was the president. And we had a laugh towards the end with the squaddy Trim, who is now deceased, in the flag lowering the afternoon. But what happened to those buildings there, man? I understand that names are being removed, names are being replaced. Have you heard that?
Let me put things in proper context. When Larry Lewis became acting commissioner, he was acting before he was confirmed. I couldn't get two commissioners at the same time. He went to Adventure. And Adventure there was a patrol base when they had opened the quarantine highway. They had the TSU and they had the patrol the traffic ranks there. And when Larry Lewis went there, he found a set of dilapidated buildings and a kind of jungle there. Winston Felix was there. I think he was 2IC, shortly became Commander Bodies. And Larry Lewis said, I'm going to do some training at this very location. And Felix said, yes, Commissioner, it's ideal for jungle training. He said, no. I'm going to make this place a place of excellence. I'm going to open a branch of the Felix Arson Police College there, and it's going to be a place of excellence. And you, Winston Felix, has got to spearhead the operation. And Felix went to work. I was the OC at Rumville Police Station. I was on leave, and I remember Larry Lewis sent for me a Friday, and he said, hey, Monday morning, find yourself in Bobby's and help me build the college. And we started from scratch. It wasn't easy for Felix. Well, Felix, with members of the community, the businessmen, spent acquired over several $1 million to establish a college there. And as you rightly said, President Haidt declared that college open. Subsequently, after Larry Lewis left the immediate office, the place ran into disrepair. I became commanding Bobbies. And I remember I had some real challenges with crime in the central quarantine area. And those persons that wanted to protest. I got a wink. And I held a meeting with the members of the Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce, our good friend Imran and others. And I made a presentation how I will deal with crime in that area to reduce crime, a PowerPoint presentation. And during question time, one of the guys said, Mr. Conway, Commander Conway, you have a very good plan, but you have a major problem there. Where are you going to find the resources to do all we're doing, the human resources? I said, good. Help me rebuild Adventure, and I will have all the police to deal with the plan. And I think somebody said 100,000, and I left that location there with pledges over $1 million. And subsequently, with the spearheading by the Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce, we built Adventure. Not a cent from the government of the day. We built Adventure, and it was opened. And They made recommendation, and Commissioner Henry Green decided, hey, and they said that the block must be named Clinton Conway Block. We cost over, I think, about $12 million to rebuild that complex. So they painted up Clinton Conway Block. Now, recent, and Celia Prasad, when he became commissioner, put up another block there, and they renamed it Celia Prasad Block. Lo and behold, recently, they took paint and painted out my name there. They painted out Celia Prasad name too on the Celia Prasad Block. So there's no longer Clinton Conway Block. There's no longer Celia Prasad Block. Those things were painted out. I think Celia Prasad barely showing, but Conway and showing. And they paint the whole building, just Clinton Conway Block painted out and Celia Prasad Block. Understand now people looking in terms of leaving legacy. So what they're gonna do, they're gonna write in Calvin Bonnet Block and Clifton Hitkin Block. And Adventure became a place of excellence. Let me tell you some of the people who came out of Adventure. David Ramnarayan, who acted as commissioner several times. Simon McBean, assistant commissioner of the division. You have Chief Prasad Bacchus, current commander for B division. He was a product of that. Budna Budram is a product of that area. Senior Superintendent Moore is a product of Adventure. And this one might interest people. The present acting director of prison is a graduate of that college. I think his number was 19,100 and something. So it's no longer a place of excellence. The buildings are in deplorable condition. In this oil-rich country, the buildings are in deplorable condition. Thank God they're not secure as a dormitory at Mahdia. And understand further, those persons who want to leave legacy, there's a gym at the police training school in Georgetown. It was named Police Celia Prasad Gym. Understand they're gonna rub out Celia Prasad name and they're gonna put Clifton Hitkin name. So all other things doing, just like how they said they're changing name Felix Afton Police College to that of some academy. So a whole lot of things going on. So they white out me name and they white out Celia Prasad name, and the whole complex there is in a state of disrepair. God help the Guyana police force.
Anything else you want to say? Your closing remarks, SEC?
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything now? Was closing your closing remarks?
Nothing. I think I've said enough. I've said enough, and that's it. Next week.
All right, good. All right, good. Now, just before the thing, maybe what they're gonna do if they're changing names and so on. I remember the name a latrine over the river after a certain officer. What if they're changing it to Lucian Black was named after a certain senior officer at Lenora. So maybe he will want, well, perhaps there's a reflection of who the person is. The name, as we say, a shithouse after officer, perhaps appropriately so. Now, let me say a couple of things.
And before that, let me just say something. I bet a little bit that the next commissioner would be a graduate of the Felix Austin Police College B Division.
All right, let me hear that. I don't bet you because, like me, you got a crystal ball that you're not seeing. Now, let me say this in closing, and let me keep CC in the studio. This is a question I should have asked earlier when we talk about the shooting of Award. They said it was a joint service operation. Members of the joint services were there. I wonder who was the person in charge. I wonder who was the police rank in charge. Because once you have an operation of that nature, the police have to be in charge. Now, no soldier, because there's no state of emergency. The police the soldiers have to be there in support of the police. So whatever rank police was there, whatever rank of the police have to be in charge. What if they know that? So wonder if all of those things are going to be revealed, who was in charge. I thought I'll mention that. And I promise one of the viewers, I know time actually run out, I'm trying to close off now. But he had asked me some time ago about the law which relates to the name and the unladen weight and all of those things being written on the side of vehicle. And I did some research, and what the research shows is that Section 92 of the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, Section 92, speaks to speed and weight, unladen weight, and all of that. And that section gives the minister or the licensing authority, who's the Minister of Home Affairs, the power to make all type of regulations. And I have a suspicion that at some time ago, in keeping with this section, regulations were made, not law, regulations that goods vehicle must have the name of the address of the owner, the side, and the weight of the vehicle, and all of that must be written there. But I can't find this regulation, nor can I find any law which speaks directly to it. So sorry, I know you've been patient over the weeks and you've asked me. I did do some research and some reading, as I've indicated, and that is what I have found. I will continue to look. I don't know if that will satisfy you, but as I've said, Section 92 of the Motor Vehicle Road Traffic Act, so you yourself can look it up because it speaks to that issue about goods transportation vehicle. You know, enough of these things, the laws are not updated and all of that, and therefore you have difficulties in finding where these things lie. So that is all I can tell you at this stage. Folks, I want to close by again asking you to be safe. You know, we didn't talk about fatal accidents during the week, but there were fatal accidents during the course of the week. I think there were one or two. Do everything that you can to be safe. Do everything you can to be safe, especially when you are on the roads, especially now that the rains are here, rainy season is here. If you're in the country area, quarantine and those places when those tractors are going to come out from the rice field, a lot of mud on the road, be extremely careful. Be extremely careful. And as I would normally say, as we come to the end of today's program, a long program again today. As I said, I did warn you. You can't say that you weren't forewarned. I did warn you that we are going to be long today because we had a lot of subjects to speak on. We had a lot of subjects. And I hope that, again, you were educated on these issues. You were educated because that is the aim. The aim is not only to come here and to waste your time in classes, but to educate you. Share the information. Let people go to YouTube and look what's going on. As I said, last week was perhaps the most popular week in terms of live viewership, in terms of viewership on YouTube. Today, it was very close to last week. We'll see what will happen on YouTube. Go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. These people are doing everything to pull these programs off. Everything. I was on a program yesterday in the UK talking, and the man said, the moderator said, he has never had so much interference. Interference all the time. Interference all the time with this program. I understand morning show, Guyana, same thing. Same thing. So make sure that you can see the show because we are not going to stop. We are going to bring you the valid information. As I said yesterday, I challenge and we continue to challenge them to dispute anything that we have said. They can't do that, so they send the likes of Rick or whatever he name to come and tell you a lot of crap thing there. Right? Imagine that. Imagine the story that is told by the police in relation to the shooting of Award. He wants us to believe, and because we say we don't believe, we're supporting criminals. You ever hear crap like that? But it tells you of the level of intelligence, these cockroaches, these amphibians, and all the other names that they are usually called. So, folks, until next Wednesday, tomorrow is the 4th of June. Until next Wednesday, I invite you to remain safe and God spare life. At 11 o'clock next week, Wednesday, we'll be here for another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Until then, bye.